Buff Nation, what up? BWB, my bandwagon buffs. What it is, what it does, and what it's gonna be. It's your man's Harry Billion. Give me a second, guys. So listen, man. Welcome to the Liberian Perspective. I'm your guy, Harry Billion. Welcome to the show. Please do me a favor and smash that subscribe button. Make sure to give me the thumbs up. And don't forget to hit that bell notification so that you can get the videos as soon as it uploads to YouTube. I got to go ahead and get into this live, so that's all the business I got. You know what time it is. Let's work. Welcome to TLP. Welcome to TLP Live at Noon. I am your host, Harry Billion. We got a good show for you today, guys. I already see an angry person in the chat. It is all good. Angry people are the people that needs to be, that needs a little bit of fresh air, fresh reminder to understand that the Colorado Buffaloes are a team just like any other team. They have fan base. They have people who got questions. They have people who have concerns. And that's why there's press conferences. They don't understand why some of those things are. But when you see concerns, when you see things happening in the media, or you see things happening on the field, you have questions. And sometimes, well, not sometimes, those press conferences helps you to understand what is going on in the mind of not only the coach, the other coaches, the AD, and the entire university. We want to understand what direction this team is headed in. So Coach Prime and his team, there was a lot going on this season, on and off the field. There was a lot of questions about some of the players. If I remember correctly, Juju Mitchell, I believe that was his name. He came in with some baggage, and then he disappeared. We don't know what happened. There were some players that were on the team that kind of disappeared. We don't know what happened. You see the title of the show. You see the thumbnail. All right. This is what we ended the show with yesterday. Now, Coach Prime and his team have a mantra. He wants the young men to be fast, smart, tough, disciplined, with character. Maybe not in that specific order, but that's kind of like what it is basically for the team. But Coach Prime and his team were plagued with a lot of these issues, or with a lot of certain issues during the season. And I would say it cost them a couple of games. Not a lot of games, because we've dealt with a lot of other issues that cost a lot of the L's that we took. But being tough, being fast, being smart, disciplined with character, some of those things could have cost a lot of games, or enough games. And there are some of those things that are still, I would say, sprinkled into that last year's 2023 team that could cause something to happen to cost us some games in 2024. Here at TLP Sports Club, we discuss everything. We don't leave anything we don't leave anything out. All right? We talk about everything. Because some of those things that plagued the team in 2023 also plagued the team in 2024. Because we know Coach Prime's teams to be, for the most part, disciplined. We know the type of character that he has. We know the type of life that he lives. And he holds everybody to a high standard. He holds them accountable around him. So what caused Coach Prime's team to have some of the, I would say, if not the most penalties in 2023 for the Pac-12? Besides penalties, there are other things that plague the team in 2023. We're going to talk about all of that and more on today's show. All right? Because that's what we do here. We talk about the stuff that you should know, the stuff that can cause you an L. All right? Those are the things that we discuss on here on the show, TLP Live at Noon. All right, so we're going to do that. Remember the format of the show. If you look right above here, you will see an email that says hot tips for tlpsports@gmail.com. If you want to call into the show, you want to discuss, something pricks your ear, you're like, I need to add my voice to that. All right, you're stuck in the comments or in the chat session, and you want to add your voice to the conversation. This is your show. This is the opportunity for you to do that. All right. Sometimes I have people that come on that are consistently coming on. Maybe today's the day that you got the urge, or you got the confidence to say, you know what, I'm going to call in today. Either I'm going to push back on what Harry B and his panel are saying, or I'm going to come on and I'm going to add to whatever they are saying. Whatever you want to do, as long as you keep it respectful, you don't use foul language or cuss words, because that is how I get paid on my show. You can come on and you can, voice your opinion. Whether you are a detractor or you are a supporter, you can come on and we can have a conversation. So remember, the email is right over here, hot tips for tlpsports@gmail.com. Before we get into the show, let me go ahead and address my my guests that are in the chat. How you doing, everybody? Hope all is well. Shoot the SHID, how you doing? I see that you were an angry fan already. DC Carson Music, how you doing? Hope all is well. Dallas is in the building with Tim Smith. Yo, Annie Rice, how you doing? Purple Orchid, what's up with you? What's up with you? Don't Touch Too, how you doing, man? What's good with you? Hope all is well. Don't Touch Too says, all right, so Don't Touch Too says, fast keyword is we don't know what happened, but should we? I think as fans of Coach Prime, we feel entitled to more information than other schools. No, I think fan bases have conversations. Fan bases talk about stuff. We're just not afraid to talk about stuff here, because I feel like the things that other fan bases talk about, when it comes to Coach Prime, we are afraid to touch certain topics because it's Coach Prime. And here at the show, we're not afraid to touch it because we don't blame Coach Prime. Coach Prime is just one factor. He's the head coach. You see what I'm saying? He has certain mandates. He said, this is how I want my team to go. This is how I want things to operate. And then it's up to the kids or the people around them to execute. Some things are his fault. Some things are not. But it's not like we're haters of Coach Prime here. We just like to discuss everything that has to do with the team. There's nothing wrong with that. Some people tend to think that there's something wrong when you discuss things about the team that may not, I don't know, sound too positive. Disciplinarian stuff is like, it's stuff you should discuss. Anyway, that plagued us. It cost us some games. And if it's going to cost us some games in 2024, when Coach Prime has a mandate to make that top 12, if it's going to cost us some games, then let's put it on the table. Let's discuss it. And then we can say, okay, if we have an issue about that, then we're going to prescribe it to Coach Prime and the fan base and say, let's get rid of that. That thing was not good. Let's go there and let's talk about it. That's what fan bases do. All right. So I don't understand why it's an issue with some fans to think like, oh, you know what I'm saying? I'm gonna unsubscribe. I'm gonna press the dislike button, and you should feel this pain. That's your problem. I don't got no problem with that. That's what you do. That's what it is. It's up to you. You got the power in your hands. Okay, Mighty Morphin Power Ranger. That's what you got to do. But we're gonna talk about it. So what's up, everybody? Welcome to the show. Don't forget, the email is right here, hot tips for tlpsports@gmail.com. We're gonna discuss it today. You go ahead, you send me an email. I'm gonna send you a link, and you come on the show. You can use a photograph. You can use your voice. You know what I'm saying? but we're going to talk about it. We're not afraid to talk about those things here. And some people think that it's about hating Coach Prime. And I don't know that you're not well informed about this channel. If you're still on the thought that this is a Coach Prime hating channel, then maybe you don't understand what's going on around here. TLP Sports Club is a bandwagon buffs around here because of Coach Prime. We don't hate Coach Prime. We love Colorado football. So we're gonna talk about Colorado football. And we're in the off season. We're in this is off season. What else we gonna talk about? You see what I'm saying? Like, what else do you want us to talk about? This is the off season. The season is over for us. There are ball games going on. USC just beat Louisville. You know what I'm saying? Or Louisville. Was it Louisville? Yeah, I think it was Louisville. It was like 46 to something. So bowl games are being played. We're not in the bowl talk, but we want to be in 2024. So how do we get there? There's a lot of prescriptions that we make here on this channel. So I want people to understand, like, all of the prescriptions has to do with the fact that we like this team. Not just like the team, but this is our team, and we're not just here playing around. All right? Scoop Brooklyn, what up with you? Hope all is well. The Manny Hill Show, how you doing today? Hope all is well. KCM, how you doing today? So y'all don't forget, I want to see some new faces today. I want to hear some new voices today. So I'm not saying my normal people shouldn't call in, okay? I want to add a few different voices today. I think we added 1 or 2 new voices yesterday. I want to hear somebody new today. So let's try to average at least somebody new that has the courage to call in and add to the conversation. All right. I won't ask you no hard questions. You can just add to whatever you know, and then if you're done, you can just leave. That's how it works. All right. Hope all is well. Dario Gray, how you doing today? Hope all is well with you. So let's get into it, guys, because there's some people that just watch the beginning of the show and then they're out of here. And then they don't get into hour number 2, number 3, that when we start discussing the real stuff, right? So what are some of the problems that are plaguing Colorado and Coach Prime? Let's get right into it. All right. There were some issues, all right? Because Coach Prime's mandate: smart, tough, fast, disciplined. This is not in any particular order. With character, something like that. You guys can put it over there in the chat. All right. But I would say, for the most part, we were fast. Some of us were tough. Some of us were smart. Not all of us, right? Let's see. I would say we had character for the most part, right? I don't know if we were hitting on all cylinders. I know that I don't think we hit on all cylinders. If that was the mandate, then we fell short somewhere. Somewhere down the line, we fell short. Now, some of that stuff has to do with the person that Coach Prime wants the players to be on and off the field. For the most part, some of that has to do with being off the field, things that you should do, that you should just be as a good person, as a person of this society. We want you to be disciplined. When football is long over, we want you to still employ some of the disciplines that you learn. Working out, not having a crazy dot body, you know what I'm saying? You still, when your football days are over, you still need to work out. You still need to have certain disciplines for your life to be, at least to be the way that you want it to go. So some of those things is not necessarily just on the field. But I think the on the field stuff has more to do with, like, what? Fast. I mean, you ain't got to be fast when you're done playing football. So the on the field stuff will have to be fast. Tough. Tough can go both ways, right? Because you need to be tough. Because this world is tough. This world is gonna beat you up. So you need to be tough. All right. But tough, yeah, on the field and off the field. With character has a lot to do with on and off the field. We're getting more into that. Tough, fast, discipline. with character. So, okay. Colorado got most of our penalties, and it's not necessarily all of Colorado's fault because I would tell you on this channel what I witnessed. It was almost like there were some calls or penalties that were not Colorado's fault, that the refs just for some odd reason they just didn't want to call. They called against us, and the other team did not get other penalties. So what is the percentage of that happened? I don't know, but I think it was I felt like, and maybe I can attribute this to the Dion tax, because it's like the jury, right? The jury is like, they shouldn't know what's going on. I'm kind of like referencing associating the refs with the jury, or correlating the refs with the jury. The refs are supposed to be the most neutral group of people because they are the judge of everything that's going on the field. They have so much power that they can sway the game either left or right. All right, either W or loss. They have a lot of power. Sometimes way too much power. So when you get the refs who are not like the jury, who are not supposed to pay attention to some of the off and on field, that stuff that's going on, whether it's in the media, it's social media, and the Dion tax, depending on how you feel, if you are a ref that's reffing the game and you're not supposed to be for the opposite team or for Coach Prime, you're just supposed to just follow the rules of the game. It felt as if some of these refs were under the influence of the Dion tax. You guys let me know if you believe that or not. It felt kind of weird because I felt like, depending on where, if you're in a courtroom and it's a big case and you feel like, you pick the jury based upon, okay, most of them did not really hear about the case in the media already, and they didn't really understand. They just kind of, they want to go by the rules and just judge the case for the case. I feel like some of these referees were already influenced some way. They either felt like, oh, Coach Prime and his Colorado Buffs are overhyped, or they had some kind of feeling, because it kind of showed. I don't want to sit here and make a bunch of excuses for the reasons why we lost. I'm just giving you the elements that I feel like played into the fast, tough discipline with character and stuff like that. And the reasons why we got so many penalties. Because if we were more disciplined, we would not have so many penalties. We had like over 100 some odd penalties. So like it was a crazy number. And I'm sure somebody can remind us of how many penalties we had this season. But it was a crazy number. If you're disciplined on the field, I don't know how many of y'all watched my earlier videos where when I made a video about like how disciplined Coach Prime is, like the character that he has, the type of person that he is, the life that he lives. If it translates to these young men, then Coach Prime teams are some of the most disciplined team on the field. Number one, the shenanigans with, stomping on somebody's logo, doing crazy things that kind of come back at you and plague you, people speaking ill of your team, is not indicative of how Coach Prime lives his life. This is a guy that doesn't talk about anybody, at least in the public. He ain't going to put it out there that, oh, I hate this guy, I want his neck, and da-da-da-da-da. He wants to play the game, and he wants to demolish you. He wants to take your fiber out of your body, and he wants to make sure he put a number to it. He wants to beat you so bad that your mama can't recognize you. But that's just playing football, and that's just it for him. For other people, they have other ways of trying to make that happen. Whether they say something about you and your mama, saying your mama didn't raise you right, all sorts of stuff that they say. But we don't have any record or any account of Coach Prime doing that. You can ask all of the people that have played with him. You can ask all of the teams that he's played. Ask them. Now, whether you get other teams or other coaches saying, well, Dion is this or Dion is that way, that's a whole nother competitive thing. You can associate that with just being competitive. But does he talk poorly about anyone? I never seen it. I never heard it. At times where I'm like, Coach Prime, you got to get a little bit more chippy. Like, you're not. You're too smooth. You're riding too clean, bro. This is FBS football, and everybody's trying to keep their job. Everybody is trying to get an edge to win. And they're going to be chippy. They're going to do things. They're going to hit Travis Hunter late. They're going to pinch you. They're going to airball you. They're going to do a lot of things. And I'm watching it, and I'm like, I need my coach to be a little bit more chippy. He's not chippy enough. Some of the things that the referees don't see, it's a little playing dirty. I get it, but it's football. It's a gladiator sport. How do you take football to be? Football is a gladiator sport. We want to see the W. So you tell me, what are you willing to give up, or what are you willing to do to win? And I don't know, does that play too much into your moral code? Does it take away from your moral code if you play a little chippy? I don't know. I mean, because it's a gladiator sport, because it's almost like it's combat sport. Is it bad to be a little chippy? I really don't know. Can you say, oh, I can see his character in him playing chippy because it's a gladiator sport? It's like, you know what do they say? All's fair in love and war, or all's fair in war? What are the rules for war when you are at war? Right? That's what I want to know. So when you get a guy like Coach Prime who is so clean, at the end of the day, I'm like, okay, fine. What was it then that got the players not to ride like him, not to be like him? Something transpired where a lot of those young men lost their cool at times. You had Travis Hunter with like a 15-yard penalty. There was I don't know if Cormani McLean got one, but he did hit somebody. There were times where you look at them and you're like, well, what is going on? Young men, look at your head coach and do what he would do. This is how he would play. He uses his ability. He uses his speed. He's disciplined. He has character, unwavering character at times. Now, some people may question that. Some of the other coaches that he played against may question that. But I'm like, why are we getting so many penalties? If you take the referees out of the picture, whatever the thing that they had against Coach Prime, and those few penalties that they got, where you felt like, okay, I don't get this one. That one touchdown that Travis Hunter scored, and it was obvious that he secured the ball. They brought that back, which changed the entire momentum of the game. When you take those things away, why did penalties plague us in 2023? I used to say this, and I said, the most disciplined team on the field, the team that does not get the most penalties, the team that does the right things the team that does the right thing is going to win this game. Because there were so many games where we were right there with the team, with everything. And it was like we were so close to in play, we were so close to them that it felt like the person that missed the most mistakes was going to lose that game. And it was always true. It always happened. If you watch one of my live streams during the season when I was live streaming the game, I kept saying the team that makes the most mistakes are going to lose this game. And that's exactly what happened every game. The team that made the most mistakes lost the games. We're now going into another conference, the Big 12 Conference. And I know my narrative is we went through murderous row meaning that we played a lot of ranked teams. And these teams were no joke. The Pac-12 was one of the best conferences in the league. So we went through that. There's no murderer's row in the Big 12. So what is it going to be? There are going to be a lot of things that happens this year or in 2024 that can cost us games. Teams are gearing up. Teams are learning from their 2023 season and they're gearing up for their 2024. They're going to be correcting a lot of things. Some of the things that we need to correct is what I'm talking about. Just give me 1 second, guys. One moment. So go ahead and put that in the comments, guys. What are some of the things that you saw that plagued us that you feel like that can affect our 2024 season? Go ahead and put that in the comments. I want to read some of them. Some things that you saw that plagued us that may cost us some games in 2024. KMS, what's up with you? That text is truth. What's up with you? Buffs Attack 21 said discipline and favoritism, selfishness. That was one. That was one that Cavassier Smoke said. Selfish ball. So selfish ball. We didn't really discuss. We discussed selfish ball a little bit, but Cavassier Smoke never came out to tell us what selfish ball meant to him and what exactly selfish ball is, or what did it look like for Coach Prime. Was it based on the coach's decisions to play certain players and not play other players? Was it based on Shador's decisions as a quarterback, who he was going to pass to? Was it based on the play calling? So we don't really know what selfish ball really what it entailed. So we don't really know what that means. So I can't really quantify that. I can't quantify selfish ball. I don't really know what selfish ball was. So I can't pinpoint and say, okay, you know what? I mean, I guess I can talk it in a little bit because there were times where Shador was looking for Travis Hunter. Other wide receivers were open, and because he was so fixated on Travis Hunter or Dylan Edwards or Xavier Weaver, when other people were open, he took a sack. So I would say give a couple of sacks to that selfish ball attitude where, okay, I know my guys. I know if I throw the ball to this wide receiver, he's not going to drop it or he's going to make a play on it, because those are the decisions that Shador makes. He's very particular who he throws to. It's rare that Shador would try a new receiver that he really hasn't tried, because that whole perfection thing. So I would say that's another thing. Just Shador's idea of perfection, where you see this receiver open, but your trusted guys are being covered, or at least people are watching them. So what is Shador doing? Being fixated on certain players. It was like it plays into the idea of selfish ball and also just his idea of perfection. Thinking like, if I throw it to this guy, he drops it. I don't want the ball to be dropped. I don't want to have incompletions. I'd rather take a sack than to throw the ball and have an incompletion. Those are some of the things that's going on in our quarterback's head. Now, it helps and it hurts us. All right, so that's one thing that I don't know that we're going to get rid of that, because it's almost like what you call it, Achilles heel. The thing that helps you, it can also hurt you. So that's why I'm like, do we get rid of the thing that can help us, or how do we minimize that? Let me make sure I got the email unlocked. All right. Yo, give me 1 second. Let me get the link up. You can call into the show if you hear something that pricks your ear and you're like, yo, I'm going to talk about that. Hot tips for TLP Sports at gmail.com. Guys, please do me a favor and hit that like button. If you hit the like button, it's going to send the video out to other people, and it's going to get the algorithm to you know what I'm saying, do that thing that I need to do, that I needed to do for other people to watch this, okay? I appreciate you doing that for me. Thank you very much. So everybody, if you can do me a favor and smash that like button, let's get more eyeballs watching, okay? Okay, so the trust issue, our quarterback trust issue is there because, I mean, this is not coming from me. This is coming from Shador themselves. This is coming from Coach Prime and Shador. There's a trust issue there, and I have talked about this before. Coach Prime and Shador, well, because that's his dad, they have this trust issue. And you guys can tell me if you saw this as well. If Coach Prime feel like you're not putting up the effort, or you don't practice the way that you need to practice, he's not gonna be favoring you. He's not gonna trust to put you in the game, because Coach Prime is a winner, and it's almost an Achilles as well, because when you're a winner, you attract other winners. When you want to win so bad, or when your expectations are up here, you don't trust people that don't have that same grit that you do, that same energy that you do. So Coach Prime and his son, they have that winner's mentality. Nothing fears. They don't fear anything. They don't look at players and say, "Oh my gosh, that's Caleb Williams. Oh my gosh, that's this cornerback. He's coming to get me." Or that's this linebacker. He's about to get me. It's not in their DNA. All right? It is not in their DNA to fear anybody or to fear somebody for their name. They're just winners, and they do things that winners do. So when they see somebody who's not on that level, it's hard for them to trust that person. You see what I'm saying? So it's like, I don't know if it's a great thing that helps us a lot, but it's also something that can hurt us a little bit, because sometimes there are going to be players that come into your fold that are not like you, that maybe take a little bit more encouragement to get going. Not everybody performs at the same level, or not everybody arrives at the same time. So when you get those players that are on, a little bit more reserved, maybe they don't know how to win yet. They need your winning mentality, and that faith, and that thing that you have about you, that don't fear anything, that feel like you can win every game. Everybody don't have that. So what does that mean for our team? That means that, okay, you're going to get some really good players that come into your fold, that come into your team, that may not present that idea of a winner yet, because somebody hasn't really gotten to them to let them know that they're good enough to put into their brain not to fear anything. That same thing that you've been living with because your dad has that thing, Shador. So it's a little hard for certain players. Does it mean that they're not a good player? No, it doesn't mean that. It just means that they need a little bit more time. So not everybody arrives at the same time. So when you get those type of players around Deion Sanders and his son, Shador, who's the quarterback, that trust doesn't build easily. So we have an issue with that, because he's open. You don't trust him. So what do we do? You see what I'm saying? Like, you don't trust him. You don't think he's going to catch the ball. So you don't throw it to him. But he's your teammate. He's playing. So how do we fix that? Somebody send a message to Shador. Lighten up a little bit. Maybe. I don't know. Do you relax the person's mentality? Or do you say, listen, I understand that you seek perfection, but not everybody arrive at the same time. If they drop the ball, help to develop them. Because you're going to get a beast. You're going to get a beast in a player who may not have your same mentality or who may not arrive at the same time or be where you're at. So what you need to do is help to build their confidence. That's what needs to happen. If you help to build that person's confidence, what you're going to get is to trust that person or somebody who now you can trust. It's hard to do that, and I get it. And I don't know, I don't have a prescription, I don't have the answer to say, oh, does he relax his mentality, his goals, or whatever he has in his mind, the way that he performs? Because obviously that's what got him here. So I'm not saying I know better than he does, because whatever he's doing has worked for him to get here. But now we're in a situation where that trust that we don't have is affecting our play on the field. Y'all let me know. Do y'all think that's affecting his play? Because I think it is. Because you don't have to wait for Travis Hunter to get open. If you trust that guy that you're looking at, if he drops the ball, it's okay. Like, it's okay. It's all right. Everybody don't arrive at the same time. It's okay. Give him another chance. Throw it to him again. Once you let him know that he's good enough, because maybe nobody ever told him that he was good enough. I don't know. Maybe nobody's ever told him he doesn't live like you live. So, but maybe if you go back to him and you keep working with him on the field, and then you build that trust, I'm telling you, you can have another weapon on the field. Because once the DCs, the defensive coordinators on the other team, once they realize, they're looking at your eyes, they have the analysts like Pat Shermer, who was up in the booth. Once they realize and they're watching your eyes that you're continually looking for certain players, they're going to lock in on you. And once they lock in on you, they take that away from you. And I think a lot of that plagued us in 2023 because a lot of things were taken away from Shedeur. But because of that trust thing, he didn't want to go nowhere else. And the DCs realized that. And that cost us some games. He's not a dog, Harry. You haven't learned that term yet. I haven't said the word dog today. I'm not talking about no dog. Right now, I'm talking about good players. Forget about the whole dog idea. All right? Everybody on your team is not going to be a dog. So let's leave the idea of a dog alone for a second, because we got varying ideas of what a dog is. All right, so let's put that on the table. Let's take that off the table for a second, and let's just talk about the fact that some of these high players, they had regular players on their teams in high school that helped them to become who they are, right? Because not everybody on the team is going to be a dog. Like, you can't have all dogs. Like, I don't know any team that has all dogs. Like, let's be frank. All right? Dogs are very few and far in between. You're not going to have all dogs. What you need is a few dogs. Look around in sports. There's no every team have a dog. No, that's not possible. So leave the dog thing alone for a second. Like, think about it. Look at all of your teams. Let's go to the NBA for a second. Why do you think they have super teams? You have your dog of a dog, your alpha male dog. Then you may have your second in command, your Scottie Pippins, all right? Your Chris Boshes, your Dwayne Wades, right? When you take out the Michael Jordans, the Kobe Bryants, when you take out the LeBron James, the alpha dogs, right? You have your second in commands. So you got dogs. You may have maybe 2 or 3 dogs on the team. What you need to have is a dog at each position as the leader. And that's it. Look at high school. on how high school works. All of those kids that are playing, they have parents that go home to mommy. They're not going to college for no sports, but they're playing, and mom and dad are proud of them. But they're helping your dogs to get their scholarships to get to your Deion Sanderses, your Jordan Seatons on their team. It's not a bunch of people full of dogs, or you would just get the entire team. So let's put it in perspective what that stuff means. You got your alpha males, the people who are going to go out there and get it no matter what. And then you have your regular players, your regular Joes. The some of us, we're riding the bench, but we know how to play. We have the ability. I was a five sport athlete in high school. I can play anything. All right. I can do it now, but my body's a little out of shape. But it's just like, okay, so you have those. You have those people that really know the sport. They're skilled beyond everybody else that's on the field. Colorado doesn't need to have 1,000 dogs. You get enough dogs around the other players, which is going to be a lot more the regular people. If you look at life, that's how life is. You got your overachievers, your early bloomers, right? You got your YouTube channels where you got people who are out here who are killing it on YouTube. Then you got people like me who just, we're coasting. We're good. We all right. We're not like overachievers. Personality may be a little off for some people, but you got your other YouTube channels that's killing it. That's how sports is. So that's the reality that we are facing when it comes to what Coach Prime is dealing with. we as sports community stop referring to our black kids as dogs? So are you saying that only black kids are dogs? Rhonda Miles says, Harry, you clearly haven't played on winning teams. What does that mean? What did I say that lets you know that I didn't play on winning teams? Look at NBA. Look at any high sports. Everybody on that team is not a dog. You got your few dogs, and then you got your role players. That's why they call them role players. So you're doing that thing today? What are you doing today? What is that? Anyway, so we're referring to black kids as dogs. I think you have an idea that only black kids can be dogs. And I think that's where you get racist. You get racial with it. It's not only black kids that are dogs. What was that white kid that was killing us? That running back, number 33. Was it UCLA? The UCLA Bruins, number 33, smoking us. I warned us about that kid. Okay? I warned us about number 33 from the UCLA Bruins. He was white. Like snowball white. Smoking us. Dog. Okay? We're not saying dog because of black. We're not calling black kids dogs. We're talking about the idea of an elite player. So if you're thinking like, well, let's stop calling our black kids dogs, then you are stuck in a racial warp, and you got to get out of that racial warp. All right, this is not how it works. There's a lot of white kids that are dogs. Okay, I'm not saying go ahead and all the white kids that are dogs. No, I'm telling you the idea of a dog is not a racial thing. So get off of that. It's a mentality, man. Let's go. So we have that trust issue, and that's one of the prescriptions. That's one of the things that we need to answer. We need to talk about it, because when you talk about Deion, when you talk about Coach Prime, and you talk about Shador, their mentality is a winning mentality, and the idea that they come with is, if you're not a winner like me, I'm gonna have a hard time trusting you. I prescribe or I submit to you, like the pastors would say, I submit to you that that mentality is good and bad at the same time. It is good and bad at the same time because you need a mentality like that. You need people who are winners around you. You need to hold people accountable who are around you, and they need to be on that same level or they shouldn't be around you. But not everybody that's around you is going to have that high level of standard around you, right? They're not their level of standard. I'm not suggesting lower your standard to get people around you. That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying not everybody around you, even though with their high level of standard, they're not going to have some type of fear. Your fear level may be much different than other people that are around you that have the same mentality that you do. So, what is it going to take for Coach Prime, for QB1 Shador to not lower their standard, but have more trust of people that are around them to help develop them, to help build them up? Because there are people that's going to come into your life that you're going to have to build up while they're building you up. All right? When you get kids, kids are the most, like, come on. We all know about kids. You understand what I'm saying? Like, kids, they fumble, they do all things, they eat your food. They are like needy a lot. They're needy, but you have to develop your kids. You're not going to say, well, I'm an adult. You got to be like me, kid. No, you don't do that. You take their faults, but guess what those kids are doing? Those kids are helping you and you don't even know it. There are areas in your life that you need to address that the kids come into to help you to address those issues. So I submit to you that there may be people that will come into your life that may be lacking somewhere in some area in their life that you need to help them grow because you're already there. But there are areas in their life that you need also because you haven't addressed that issue. And I think that helps, that costs us some games because trust is an issue. Let me bring on Tim and let's see if Tim has some ideas to add to this. Tim, how you doing today, man? Welcome to the show.
Hey, I'm well, sir. How you doing today?
I'm doing well. This is a hard topic that we're discussing. You know,
Right.
it's gonna have mixed reviews, but you know we don't shy away from the hard issues.
Facts.
So we're talking about trust right now.
Mhm.
I'm laying out, you know, because remember how we ended the show yesterday. We're talking about fast, tough, discipline, all of these things that Coach Prime has, right? Now
Mhm.
I'm laying out some of these things that can cost us games, right?
Mhm.
Because our ultimate goal is to get into the top 12, right? So
Correct.
right now I'm talking about trust. When it comes to Coach Prime and it comes to QB1,
Mhm.
um, trust in the locker room, trust the way you practice, trust trust for QB1 who I'm going to throw the ball to.
Mhm.
Keeping my eye on certain people that I already trust, not really bringing anybody else in. It's a slow process. What do you think, or what effect do you think that plays in the locker room, and how did it affect us this year?
Um, I think in the locker room with Shador, I think he spreads the ball around well.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Travis, he already know what Travis can do. He know what Travis brings to the table. He
Yep.
know if he put it up there, Travis is going to go up 98% of the time. He's going to come down with the ball.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Jimmy Horn, he can trust him. Uh, Let me see, Xavier Weaver when he was there, he could trust them guys because not only they put in the work, they put in film time. Um, they do everything necessary to keep them as the number one receivers that's touching the field, starting.
Mm-hmm.
Now, um, the gentleman, I think it's 13, uh, wide receiver. You mentioned his name a second ago. Light skinned it,
Was it Dawson? Not Dawson, right?
not Dawson. He light skinned it. He be having a show with his mom and stuff. They be cooking together. Caleb. Caleb.
Caleb Mathis.
Okay, Caleb. For example, when Caleb got in the game, Caleb is a outstanding route runner, so he brings that key element to the game. But Shador, even though he's a freshman, Shador trusts him a lot when he's in the game because he knows he's a good route runner. Not only that, they played together at Trinity. Uh, and to also put out there, Coach Prime and them come from a state, or Shador played in a state where they air the ball out
Mm-hmm.
90% of the time. Texas is a passing state. Anybody who know anything about Texas football, they pass the ball. They're gonna put it in the air.
Mm-hmm.
So I feel like that translates over into when he was with Jackson State. They aired it out. Even at Colorado, he aired it out. Now, as far as Smoke, saying that, um, selfish football, I
Mm-hmm.
don't really see it because when the freshman did get in there, he was going to them. Like, uh, what's the name from Louisiana? Almost brought us back in USC game single handedly. What's his name?
No,
Uh,
no foul language.
oh, sorry. I'm sorry, man.
It's all good.
Um, the gentleman that almost brought us back in what's that? Who in Cooper was it?
You talking
Uh,
about not Dawson, right?
no, not Dawson against USC. The
What's it?
freshman wide receiver that had that outstanding game.
Mm, I don't know, but make your point. I don't know.
Okay, but he trusts him, so I can't see that. I can't say that it cost us games.
So
Uh,
so you don't believe that trust costs us any games? Like the fact that he like they have a trust issue where in practice, if you don't practice the way they don't trust the way that you practice, they're not going to put you in the game. You don't believe that that played a part in some of the issues that plagued us this year.
well, if I think Dion is smart enough to know if you ain't practicing, if you ain't preparing yourself to play on Saturdays, he's not gonna put you in the game.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't see how trust was an issue because Shador spreaded that ball. He spreaded the ball around.
Okay.
So I don't really see it as a issue in my personal opinion.
Okay. So when they talk about as far as like because Shador talked about it, right? Like he talked about trust. He talked about, hey man, you know what I'm saying? Like trust is hard, it's earned and we got to build trust with the wide receivers, and if they can catch the ball, he's going to throw it to them. That never like that. You don't think that's an issue. That plays a part. Not at all.
So what you saying is if he don't have like say there's Travis out there,
Mm,
um, Jimmy Horn in a freshman, you thinking that he's only going to throw the ball to Travis Hunter or Jimmy Horn because they starters and he trusts them the most?
not that they're starters, right? I won't say that it's because
Hmm.
they're starters. I would say
Hmm.
because they have a relationship, and those are people that he's already tested, and he knows that they're gonna, you know what I'm saying,
Hmm.
they're gonna catch the ball when he throws it to them, or at least they're gonna make a play on it,
I
right?
feel like I feel yeah I feel like any of those guys that's wide receivers that's on that squad
Mm-hmm.
that touch the field has prepared themselves to touch the field. Shador is going to go through his reads. Whoever open, he's going to find them.
Okay.
So I can't really see it because if you think about it, Jimmy Horn had a couple of games where he just went MIA and he had to bounce back from. But Xavier Weaver and Travis Hunter was still playing at 110%.
Okay.
So I just feel like he goes through his necessary reads. Whoever he see open, he gonna get on the ball. Now, if they drop it and then they get pulled out of the game because they dropped the ball, now I'm starting to look at I'm starting to look at the coaching staff like, why are you taking this guy out because he dropped one pass?
Mm-hmm.
Give him a shot. But it also some of those freshmen, they have to be coachable as well. They have to get with some of these older juniors or seniors and say, hey man, can you help me with my game? I'm trying to get to your level. I'm trying to see the field more, trying to get more
Mm-hmm.
playing time. I'm sick of being on the practice squad. They have to initiate that. But you
Okay.
also have some leaders that'll step down and say, you know what, I'm gonna take it upon myself to help somebody like Cormani McClain. That's what Travis Hunter did. Even though
Mm-hmm.
he got the D on his chest, he also should have an L too
For leader.
for leader.
Okay. So so another issue we were the most, I would say, we had a lot of penalties, and I cannot associate all of the penalties to Coach Prime and his team, but discipline was an issue. It was glaring that discipline was an issue. We had, and I mean this one is a little bit loose because when you're playing a gladiator sport like football, attitudes and stuff like that is gonna, it's gonna come out. People are gonna have, they're gonna show some type of attitude, right?
Hmm.
So was discipline, what did we lack discipline, or what do you associate to all of the penalties that cost us so much, like during the 2023 season?
So I can't say all of them were. Uh, I think the refs had some bad calls. Uh, I felt like discipline. I'm gonna always go to discipline as far as how many penalties you occur in a game. Like
Okay.
Shador taking his helmet off during a celebration. That's a costly penalty. Come
Mm-hmm.
on, man. You've been playing football all this time. You know not to take your helmet off. That's a stupid penalty that cost the team yards. So yeah, a lot of them. I feel like yeah, penalties cost us big time this season, this past season.
And that had to do with discipline. Now, Coach Prime, like I said earlier, Coach Prime has, like, he's one of the most disciplined people that we know, that we follow in sports.
Hmm.
So what do you attribute to his team, like, lacking a certain amount of discipline that could have helped us to win some games?
Um, it's kind of hard to prepare. I mean, it's kind of hard to compare the team to Dion. Everybody is not built like Dion, man.
Mm,
Um, Also, they coming from two different eras, two different styles of football. Um, so eh, that's a hard one, man, to compare because I feel like everybody's not built like a Dion. Everybody's not built like a Michael Jordan. Everybody's not built like a Warren Sapp.
mm-hmm.
They just not built like that. So trying to compare the team to Dion,
Well,
that's
okay.
hard.
Let me put it this way. Not necessarily comparing the team to Dion, but like his ability to impact players, his ability to motivate, right? He's
Mhm.
been able to motivate players and motivate people on all
Mhm.
levels. It's been tough this year because some of the things that we know that he taught a lot of us almost didn't translate to the young men. And you sit back and you realize, you sit back and you start thinking like, well, wait a minute. Some of the things that he's been talking about, I've been trying myself. So how is it that you
I
young
agree.
men, yeah, so how is it that you young men are not able to, what I'm saying, like, take into consideration what this man is trying to teach you? I just feel like I'm not trying to compare him, but
Mhm.
I'm just trying to say, what is it that's causing them? What is it? Why is it not translating to them?
Because everybody's not bought in. Everybody doesn't buy into his vision. That's my personal opinion.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody's. everybody doesn't. I feel like that 15%
Mm-hmm.
that he talked about in that press conference. I feel like some of those kids that left, I feel like they haven't bought in to his overall agenda, what he's trying to do with the program. Um, you got guys that don't want to study film. You got guys that drag their tail in practice. Uh,
Mm.
they don't have those work ethics that prime the greats have to be great. I feel like everybody wants it, but they don't want to work for it.
Wow. And that impacts the team on a certain level because everybody's not on that same page.
Everybody's not on the same page, and it shows on the field. If you're not gonna be disciplined enough to study film, to prepare yourself mentally, physically for Saturdays when another team is coming into town to do you on your home field, and you get blown out, preparation. You're not preparing yourself for none of that. But you want to be great. You
What
want to
is
start.
what is the impact that we're going to have as well, how is that going to impact us next year? Because I mean, our expectations now, I mean, this ain't going to be no cakewalk. So now it's going to be a problem. Now it's going to be everybody's watching because this is year number 2. You promised us, you said this was going to happen, that's going to happen. Now it's time for us to see what you were talking about. So when we go into the Big 12, right? We've been talking about the Big 12 for a little bit now. Going into the Big 12, this is going to impact us heavily. How do we I don't know. I don't even know what the word is. Like how is this going to impact us and how do we fix this? What does Coach Prime have to do to fix this basically?
I mean, everybody. I feel like what Coach Prime is doing. I mean, what he's doing and how he's trying to build these young men up. I think he's doing an amazing job. Now, the kids, the young men, they have to buy into it. But in order for, I feel like last season, those young men got a nasty taste in their mouth. They see
Mm,
what they can do. Well, let me say, they see where they're at and where they
right.
could be, where they could have been at. Now he's bringing in some talent that comes from a winning program. Some of them come from a winning program. So they see it. I feel like in some of these older juniors and seniors, grad students that he's bringing in, they have that leadership that's going to trickle down. Some of those, some of those ones that's coming in with the dog mentality, I feel like it's going to trickle down. And I feel like that this last past season team, they're gonna they're gonna gel it all together to be better than they was in 2023 to possibly get to that 12 game that 12
That's
team playoff.
that's what I keep thinking about. I keep thinking about the fact that okay, I don't know if this is a whole this is a college football as a whole or where college football is currently because like every season you got to turn over a roster now with the portal situation. So because one aspect of football, one aspect of building a cohesive team is that you got to bring guys in early so that they can spend some time together to build that chemistry. But then as soon as you build that chemistry, you know that the 12 the either 5 or 6 year guys they're leaving, and then the guys that are coming in, some of them may leave. When do
Hmm.
we ever get a situation where like what we're building is going to become a culture?
Hmm.
Because by the second that you built that culture, the culture is dismantled because the people, like I would say, instrumental people in the to make that culture what it is, they may go on, move on. Like the seniors are
Right.
leaving, or people that are more matured, they're leaving. So
Hmm.
you're always gonna have this cycle of having to rebuild.
Well, the if you think about it, or if you look at things with the portal and the NIL and uh, I think that's why Dion does that 40-40-20.
Yeah.
Um, you can, and I think that's going to be the new norm. Everybody else is just late to catching up.
Mm-hmm.
You know, Dion is. I feel like Dion is like 30 or 40 yards down the field, and they still lagging behind the rest of the teams in college football. But I feel like Ole Miss is catching on, has caught on to what Coach Prime is doing. But I feel like playing time, I feel like is what's gonna keep those young men there. Amarion Miller, I felt like if he wouldn't have touched the field this season,
Mm-hmm.
in my view, I felt like he would have possibly jumped in that portal.
Ooh.
But he stayed. And I seen that Shador reached out to him as well. But the caliber of guys that he did get, high school guys, I'm talking about,
Uh-huh.
I feel like they could come in and contribute somewhere down the road. They can contribute.
Right.
Jordan Seaton, we already know what he can do. Uh, I think it's Cam McKell, the young man out of Georgia, that wide receiver
Oh, yeah.
that can
Cam, Cam,
fly.
Cameron Michael. Yeah, Cam Michael.
Yeah,
Yeah.
okay, him. I'm looking for him to touch the field in 2024.
Well,
Uh,
you think that some of these kids might leave because of lack of playing time?
yes, lack of playing time. Why am I gonna? Why am I gonna? I have to try to think like they think. Okay, if I'm not playing here, I may be jumping transfer portal. I want to play. That's the thing. I want to play. I'm not coming over here to sit. I want to play somewhere. It ain't. I ain't got to start, but at least let me see the field. I don't want to see the field on special teams. I came out of high school. Yes, I do know it's development. I do know I need to know the playbooks and different schemes and all this stuff that goes into it at the next level of college football.
Right.
But I also know my talent level as well and what I
The,
can
what
contribute to the team.
what is let's talk a little bit about the off season. Like how important is having the entire like having a good amount of players coming on before the season start. Like how important is this? Because I think that also plays into discipline as well. I think everybody being on the same page. I think
Exactly.
that the leaders understanding their role, right? Because I think it was Wild Dog that tried to drive home for every position group, you need a specific leader to be able to impact the other players or to at least communicate that discipline to them, letting them know, hey, this is what we're gonna do. We get frustrated at times, but this is how we're gonna communicate that frustration. This is how we're gonna handle that frustration so that we don't get unnecessary penalties. How important is the off season to making sure to helping that whole discipline
It, it's
scenario?
it's very important, man. It's how they're gonna gel, and like you said, what Wild Dog was talking about,
Yeah.
having a leader in each area of offense, defense, special team, uh, etc. So you need those guys in there. You need them gel. You bringing in fresh and new guys. Everybody has to be on one accord. Um, if you go back and look at some of those, let me see. When Florida Gators won the national championship with Tim Tebow, those leaders,
Mm-hmm.
they held everybody to a standard,
Right.
regardless if you was a freshman or not. They made sure that you was in the weight room, you was lifting. If not, some of them will punch you in your face.
Mm.
So I feel like those leaders, them coming in now in January, is going to help them get to 12 or somewhat in the vicinity of 12.
So you believe that we got leaders coming? Because that's
Yeah.
I think that was one of the areas that we got to address. We got to address leadership, guys that buy into the system, like we said earlier. You got to buy into the system early. Whatever Coach Prime is teaching, you buy into the system early. This is going to then help to push the whole idea of discipline. Because I'm telling you, even though the refs did cost us some of those penalties, some of those things were boneheaded plays, things that the young men did to cost us a lot of those penalties. So when it boils down to, like, okay, what percentage of the team that you think is going to come in to early as far as like spring is concerned? Because we need a really big percentage, and hopefully we get leaders out of them.
Um, I'm hoping at least, man, at least 98% of them coming in, if
Wow,
not
that's
all. Yeah, I'm looking because I'm holding them at a higher standard this year, man. Like from a fan perspective, I'm not. I want to see who's bought in, who's just, as the young people say, capping.
but is that about really buying into the system, or is it like technical stuff that they got to do, like certain
That
transcripts?
that's buying in.
Mm-hmm.
That means that if I tell you, "Hey Harry, I want to go to the NFL," okay, practice start in January. We're gonna be lifting or whatever, learning, watching film, learning plays. Okay, I don't show up to March. Are you gonna take me seriously?
Well, it depends. It depends. What are the scenarios or the situations that you're under that have you coming in late? Because
I no it's nothing holding me back.
you're
But
saying,
I ain't got to. I didn't
given,
already graduated and everything.
so you're saying, under the circumstances, or given the circumstances of nothing holding me back.
Yes.
But how do we know that? How are we able to know that? Well, we didn't know Cormani's situation.
No, we didn't.
You see what I'm saying? So it's hard to really, put. It's hard to qualify that. You see what I'm saying, or to even quantify it. It's hard to know what is the situation that the young men or these transfers are facing, and why they can't come. Because not everybody's okay. So we put this out there. Let me make this clear. Not everybody's credits are going to transfer. So depending on whatever major that you choose, if you're lacking a few credits, you got to take summer school. You got to take summer classes. If your transcript doesn't come in and all of your credits are going to clear, then now you're in a situation where you got to correct certain things before you even join the team, either per NCAA rules or per the rules set by the university itself. So there are going to be circumstances that we're not even from that we're not privy to, that's going to cause them not to come. But I don't know that we put the label on them that they're not dogs, or they're not ready, or anything like that. I don't know. I don't think any young man. I don't know, but I don't know that any young man is like, I want to play video games. I'm going to wait. You know what I'm saying? I want to sit at home and wait and let my season start when I'm ready. I don't know that we can ever use that,
You'll
just
be
for the fact that we don't
surprised.
know.
Right. But you will be surprised. That's just like everybody that go to the NFL. You got a lot of them. I think that's why Deion Sanders and I don't want to coach at the NFL level, because you got
I
some
know.
guys that don't even care anything about winning the Super Bowl. They just want the bag.
I know, I know. That's it gets weird because you get your elite players, who those guys that they're going to play on the team. The people that usually want it much harder are the people that usually don't get the opportunity, like your role players, like your journeymen. You know what I'm saying?
Exactly.
Like your practice team, your practice squad teams. Those, when you're not a shoe in, then you want it a little harder, and you put in a little bit more work to get it. But then once you got it, then it's like people start playing games, like
Exactly.
especially in the
That's why.
NFL.
Exactly. That's why I'm looking for. That's why I said earlier. I'm looking for some of those guys to have an opportunity to showcase what they can do. because they have the option to leave. They have that at their disposal to leave. So therefore, okay, let me see what they can do. I want to
Mm-hmm.
see what I got on my roster. You know, you say you're a dog. Let me see what you got then. You
Mm.
know, that's just like if you watched the USC game last night against Louisville, they won heavily with a backup quarterback.
Mm-hmm.
But did we see him any this season? No.
Not at all.
Exactly. So he showcased last night what he could do. Now he has that opportunity if he wants to decide to jump in the portal and get a nice bag.
What do you think he goes for the bag or he goes for the start? Because now he's a starter, right? Like he
Yeah.
don't win like that, and then you put him in the background, right?
Well, I go with the team that's gonna. If I'm not 100% dedicated to USC, I I go somewhere where I can get both the bag and a starting position.
Man, that's that trust issue that we talked about in college sports. Let me bring on the
Exactly.
tennis. Let me bring on the tennis channel. Let him share his thoughts on this. Good morning, good afternoon. How you doing today? Welcome to the show.
I'm doing good. Can you guys hear me?
Yes, we
Yes,
can.
sir. How you doing, brother?
You oh excellent, man. You guys are wonderful, wonderful. This is a great subject, guys, and I like this one. And this is where when you talk about discipline and what I noticed for discipline with the team, you had a lot of players jumping offside. We had one penalty with something like 31 penalties. That's a lack of discipline. And I played sports before. There's a thing that's called when you're out there playing. Okay, I play a lot of basketball. When you get in the zone and nobody's stopping you. See, it's almost like if I can make it real short, it's almost like playing like literally out of your mind. Your focus, that's the other part of it. Your focus is so great. You're into that game, everything clicking on, it's just going just like this here. And the minute you come out of that, now you're just into you. You're
Mm.
just into the athlete. You're into the human part of you, which is, you can make a lot of mistakes. And I think, and I'm saying, what this guy? And it was the same guy. I'm saying, why is he jumping offside? He wasn't focused. His mind was somewhere else. And I don't know if for those of us that have played sport before, kind of understand that. Once you get in the zone, nothing's going to distract you. And I think when I looked at the team for discipline this this year, that's what we got to have. The other stuff, yeah, all of that other stuff, the buying into it, like my man was saying, you got to buy into the program. So if I buy into the program, that means I'm going to focus on my job. This is what I need to do. When I need to do it, I'm going to do it. I'm going to do it at this time. I'm focused on it. Okay, I'm into it. But if you got your mind somewhere else,
Mm.
your focus will have a tendency to waver. You got to remember, man, them kids out there. You got over 500 5,500 people watching you. You got to literally be into what you're doing, literally. And someone can really, once you get into
You
it,
said 5,500. You mean 47,000?
I'm 47. I'm sorry. You come on, Harry, help me out, brother. Help a brother out. You're doing good.
47,000, 50,000
47.
people,
I'm
and then not counting the people that are watching on television.
Harry. The most people I've ever played in front of, I think it was like 2,000 people, because that's all our stadium. Not the stadium, but all our, gym could hold. But just imagine playing, like you say, 55,000 people.
Mm.
Brother, that takes a lot of focus. And I think that's what a lot of our guys were lacking. When you had 31 penalties like that, somebody jumping offside, somebody flinching, or, you know, somebody running the wrong routes, all of that stuff plays into it. And a lot of us, we're fans. Look, I just want to see you perform, brother. But we don't even take that into consideration. First First thing you do it like I do. Why the heck he did something like that? Now
So-
I'm knowing and understanding why he did it. Wasn't focus.
So
The
question.
Stanford game was a clear example of discipline.
Yeah.
Let me remind people real quick that they can call into the show. You guys, if you look on your screen right now, is hot tips for TLP sports at gmail.com. Hot tips for TLP sports at gmail.com. You can call into the show and have your voice heard. If you want to call into the show and you got a question or you just want to discuss whatever we're discussing, or you got a pushback. If you feel like discipline is not something that we lack or something that we're just making up, call us and let us know and have your voice added to the show. But as far as that's concerned, I wanted to add this, guys. I wanted to say what do we Tim, you know more about the Big 12. So what are the teams that are more disciplined in the that don't make that many mistakes in the Big 12? When it comes to Big 12 play and based on our schedule, what team would you say when we play these guys, we better have our P's and Q's or we're gonna take a licking?
Oklahoma State, which they show discipline.
Yeah.
They don't make costly mistakes, and you would have seen if you watched the game last night.
Yeah,
They display that.
Yeah, I saw
Can't,
that. They're gonna be a
but
problem.
but they are juniors. They have a lot of juniors and seniors on their squad too. So Kent State, they K-State, they're not gonna make a lot of mistakes. They discipline.
Kansas
Uh,
State, you say?
yeah, Kansas State, Kansas.
Okay.
We already know Utah. Utah is disciplined. Their head coach holds them to a very high standard. So Utah, in my opinion, they're disciplined. Texas Tech, they're pretty disciplined. I watched a couple of their games this season too. So I don't really know anything about Cincinnati too much, and UCF I don't really know anything. Uh, I have to go back and look at the film on Arizona to see how many penalties they put up against us as well.
Mm-hmm.
But these teams, we got Oklahoma State for everybody that's listening. Oklahoma State, I got the schedule right up on the screen for those who are just listening on the audio. But we got Oklahoma State. That's yes, they're gonna be playing us at home. Kansas State is gonna be playing us at home. So we're gonna be playing in Boulder on that one. So as far as discipline, because I don't know how many people can attribute W's and L's to discipline, because at the end of the day, the team, if the team is playing very well, if the team is competitive, the team that makes the most mistakes usually loses the game. So discipline is something that we cannot look past, because these are the prescriptions that's going to help us to get to 12. So if we're going to be taking boneheaded penalties, 15 yards because you got frustrated and pushed somebody, or you jumped off sides, then these are things that can cost us games where we're running the ball. We did everything right. Everything that we talked about on this show, we did everything right. All right. The defense played well. The edge rushers came in, they locked it down, they gave us the ball back. Then we finally come down to the nitty gritty, the things that championship teams are made of, right? And we start losing games to Oklahoma State or Kansas State because they made fewer mistakes.
Yeah.
How does that help? How does that affect us in 2024, guys?
Well, one thing I would say, the teams that you have here right here before us, I would watch some of okay, this is how it could help us as a fan. And when we're we're watching the games and stuff. Watch how many of these teams make mistakes. Watch it, see what their penalties are. And that's going to give you an idea how disciplined the team is. Now, if we go out there making the same mistakes and they're making the same mistakes, it's going to be a long game. But I would watch some of the teams, you know, or like we watched Oklahoma last night. Oklahoma's
Yep.
going, you know, they've got juniors and seniors coming back. So far as discipline goes, they're going to be a very good disciplined team unless they just start doing boneheaded things. You know,
Exactly.
they're going to be a disciplined team. So um, yeah, so that's what I would say pretty much. You know, what do you guys say?
Go ahead, Tim.
Yeah. What like you said, tennis, right?
Yeah, just call it's call me. You can call me. You got to call me Willie, but I'm the tennis channel. Yeah,
Okay, tennis channel. You're exactly right. You know, as a fan, you want to watch, and you can even take notes. Okay, let me see how many penalties the opposite team occurred versus us. Uh, but the way it can hurt us, um, for example, I use this past season when we beat Arizona by a field goal. If
Mhm.
somebody would have jumped off sides,
You talking about
it can,
state?
yeah, Arizona State
yeah,
this past season, we won by a field goal. But if somebody jumps out off sides, then that may put us out of field goal range.
yeah.
Hmm.
Now, it hurts our chances of our kicker possibly making that field goal. So it can, even though we supposed to win the game based off statistics, and but we can lose the game based off of our lack of discipline.
You are so correct on that, man. You are so correct on that.
Now,
Just one
does
boneheaded
knowledge
mistake. Yeah,
of schemes and stuff like that. So I know Tim, you talked about this earlier about having the young men come early to practice. Now, I don't know how much of the playbook is installed and when that playbook is installed because you're obviously going to have people leave during the spring, right after the spring. So I think as far as being able to know the scheme, understanding what plays we're doing, if you come early, you have an advantage where you get to know the scheme, and that can help you to not either jump off. If you're in your head, you know what I'm saying. If it's not like second nature, if you're in your head doing the game, that's already a disadvantage for us because you're thinking too much. You see what I'm saying? So one thing that cost us a lot this year is that everybody were not on the same page as the whatever the scheme was going to be. And Shador, it was obvious that Shador was having some communication issues with some of the players. So I think, Tim, this speaks to what you said earlier about coming early, so that you understand the scheme, and that's going to help the discipline area that we're talking about.
Yeah, I mean, it'll help. Um, some of these guys are seasoned guys, so I feel like um, they should be a lot better than last year. But you
But it's
know,
not going to be the same schemes though, because
no,
now I think
it's not gonna be the same schemes. But if you're on that defensive line and Wild Dog will probably be able to speak to this a lot better than me, but I do know just by playing the game, you'll have people that will try to do certain things to get you to jump off sides. But
right.
the player himself, each individual has to hold their water.
Mm.
hey,
So
yeah. Wouldn't hey Tim? Wouldn't you agree too that your knowledge base, speaking about the scheme, your
Hmm.
mhm,
knowledge base of what the scheme is, what the game plan is, that comes from studying, right? And if
correct.
you're ahead on your studies and I mean, you on your, I know, I'm the DB. I know what I got to do. If they do this here, I know I'm going to do this here. And you're not caught off guard. So wouldn't the knowledge base, and I'm agreeing with you, man, 100%, the knowledge base of your job, of what you're supposed to do, will cut down on a lot of the mental errors?
Yes, your knowledge and your assignments.
Okay, okay, yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Your knowledge and assignments and would help, but it all still boils down, in my opinion, to the discipline. You have to be disciplined. Uh, that's going to, especially if you're on that O line or D line, you
Yep.
have to be disciplined. If you lining up as a wide receiver, you got to make sure that you looking over there and checking with the ref and making sure that you're not ahead of the ball.
Mm-hmm.
Little things like that you have to stay. Uh, like you said, Harry, I felt like, looking at this season, some of the guys, their heads were elsewhere. They
Mm.
weren't in the game, so you always got to keep your head in
Mm.
the game at all times until the clock expires.
Yeah, but I think as far as a a certain percentage of what you know or your knowledge of the schemes helps you with discipline, because at the end of the day, if I'm over there confused, you see what I'm saying? Like if I'm over there confused, you only get a few. Maybe this is more so on the offensive side of the ball because they have so many more plays to remember, and the defense probably just have a handful of plays to remember, right? So if you're on defense, it's easier for you to know your schemes unless you're just a lazy person that don't like. If you got 5 schemes that they're calling all game, like if you can't remember 5 schemes the entire time, if you whether you're there 2 or 3 months, then that's just laziness, right? But I think the offense got like a lot of. I don't even know how many plays. We only use a few plays, but you still got to remember those plays just in case they call those plays on offense. But if you're out there and you lined up and you're confused, you're like, dang, what was that play again? You know what I'm saying? Like, because this is also something that Travis Hunter talked about with Shador when he was going both ways on the ball, right? Knowing the
Right.
knowing the play, you know what I'm saying? Understanding where he's supposed to be going so that they don't have to have any type of special hand signal. That helps with your discipline a little bit. And I think it's important that most of these young men, like you said, they come in early so that they can get a jump on the playbook, because that playbook is serious, especially on that offensive line. That playbook is serious, and if you don't know it, then we're gonna have communication issues come the season, and it's gonna show.
Yeah, it will show.
Hey, Harry. Oh,
Yeah,
he done backed off. Okay, here. Cut. Can't hear you, Harry.
you can't hear me. You said
Oh, I hear you now. Okay.
okay.
Looked like you were talking and your hands were moving, but I didn't hear anything. Travis Hunter, man, you said it. Classic example.
Mm-hmm.
This brother is a great DB. He knows. Did you guys see are you seeing how he got those 2 interceptions? How he set the quarterback up.
Yep.
That's a skill level that you have that he has as a DB, because he knows where the guy's going to go with it. So he fake like he's going to go one way, but then he comes back the right way he knows the ball's going to be. Brother, that takes a lot of study. That takes a lot of film work. That takes a lot of knowing your opponent, know your enemy. Okay, know what your enemy is capable of,
Mm-hmm.
and you will eat him up. Classic example, Travis Hunter, man.
That's
Brother,
right.
wow.
Because at the end of the day, you're gonna have to know the play in order for you to be confident in executing that play. Your confidence is gonna help you with your discipline. If you're not confident, then now you're second guessing yourself, and those type of things are gonna cause you to jump off sides. It's gonna help you. It's gonna get you frustrated, because one thing that I know about a good opponent, somebody who understands how to get into your head, especially in the game, they're gonna see. They're gonna see how you're playing, things that are frustrating you, and this is what they're gonna do. They're gonna start realizing that the things that are frustrating you, they're gonna start using that stuff against you. You know what I'm saying? Like when I play, there were certain players that they'll just be like, oh, so your coach don't even like you, does he? You see him? He's yelling at you. That means you don't know your playbook, do you? Oh, you ain't study, huh? You know what I'm saying? So those things that start bugging you, that one player is gonna get into your head. He's gonna start bugging you with that. You're gonna be like, oh, they keep yelling at you. I wonder why they keep yelling at you, bruh. You probably a lazy player, aren't you? And if you know that's the thing that gets at you, and that's what the coach has been telling you in practice, and he gets he smells blood, it's a wrap, bro. That the guy that's lined up against you, he is going to kill you with that mental game the entire game. And that plays into your discipline. Now you're gonna be off your game. He's got you mentally, and then you're gonna start fighting. You're gonna start fighting right away. What is it? What do you guys think about that?
That goes back to what you were saying, man. Remember we were talking about those 4 ingredients, and I remember, but then I don't remember what it been. What kind of players that Prime wants? Coach Prime wants. He wants smart, discipline. Is discipline in there? What else?
Yep.
Is discipline in there? Smart,
fast,
discipline, fast,
with character.
No, there's another one in there. There's one more.
I think it's fast, smart, disciplined, tough, with character.
Yeah, tough and with character. Yeah. Those 4 ingredients. And if the brothers pick up on that, man, you got to be smart out there. Travis do some smart stuff. The brother ain't dumb. He knows what that quarterback's going to do. Okay? When he's running his routes, I watched him when they would talk about him going both ways. Mm-hmm. That brother went out there and he worked on the route running for the receivers. He knew what routes they were going to run, so I'm gonna go out and practice them. How many DBs you know that go out and practice? And maybe we should see how many of them do it. Poll it and see how many DBs go out and practice route running. Well, that's the person you're going to be, checking. You're going to be checking. So you need to know all of his possibilities where he can go. Smart, discipline, and with character.
So now let's talk about character. What type of character does Coach Prime teams have? Let's talk about character. People are not going to like these topics, but these are things that teams that are going to be playing us, they're going to be ready for us. And you usually, like, the character of the team, it also plays into the culture of the team, because you spend more time together, you understand each other. That is going to build, like, the things that build character are the things that you've been through. You see what I'm saying? Like, the character of the team is like, okay, this is what you and I have been through. And it's also going to be, it's going to be tough also, because what we're talking about, there's no college football team nowadays that has one guy that's been on there for 4 years, right? Like,
really looks like it.
That's going to be another issue. What are the character situations that we're dealing with when it comes to Coach Prime team? Like, what do you guys see in 2023 that was a character issue that we need to fix or that we need to discuss so that it doesn't plague us in 2024? Character issues. We're talking about character now. You can go ahead, Tennis.
Am I the only one on here? Caller, are you there?
What are some of the character stuff that you saw that you felt like we needed to address? Yeah, I think Tim had to step away for a second.
Yeah, character. So when you're talking about character, sometimes I have to go back and look these words up. But if I talk about a person, I'm not going to just guess at it and just throw anything out there. I'm going to. When you talk about the character of an individual, you talk about a person that, if what Prime is looking for, I don't have to come and bail you out of jail because you're disciplined enough in your life, okay, to take care of all of that stuff. You treat your player, you treat your peers right, the people that you are playing with. Everybody, you may not love each other, but you're going to respect each other. One of the, I think, the traits of good character, is respect. You gotta you gotta have that respect for each other. So, far as our team goes last year, I'm gonna call out one incident. I'm not gonna call. I don't want to call out any DB's name, but because we got some great DBs there. But you know, there was some. He was having some issues, you know, and um, and I told you guys, I think before, I'm just a coach guy for the coaches. Coach getting on my case, man. I had coaches say all kinds of stuff to me. I look at
Mm-hmm.
them and just say, okay, good, okay, that's it. And it was probably really my screw up, but you know, I was so pissed off that I just throw my hands up. Look, man, you don't know what you're talking. Da 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 da. No, that plays into your character. Are you willing to accept criticism at a critical point when you're very heated and well, look, don't you know what I'm doing? I'm doing my best out here, I'm out here playing, that all of that plays into your attitude. So when he talks about character, being able to accept criticism, being able to, and I'm throwing some things out there that I know that aren't too far off. I'm not throwing them out there, but I'm just saying I'm speaking on things that are not too far off. And if I look at our team in 2023, there were some hidden things that we didn't see, Harry. There were some things going on that people were talking about.
So
Yeah,
let me clarify a little bit about character. Let me let me
okay,
give you some clarification. Character, there is the off field character, where when you talk about, your character is when the lights are off. Who are you when nobody's watching? Those are the, that could play into character as well, right?
yeah,
But as far as like when we say, what is a team's character? What is a team made of? You see what I'm saying? Like, what
okay,
are
yeah,
the
yeah, yeah.
cultural things that make up who you are as a team? So I think culture plays a big role into the character of the team. How we look at the team, your integrity, the things that makes up the team. Like when you look at Greg Popovich teams, you kind of understand their character. You know their makeup. When you look at a Phil Jackson type team, you know their character. You know what they're made up of. So,
Hmm.
did we have character problems or issues, or did we not build this culture enough, or is it not enough? We need more time to really understand the integrity of this team or the character of this team, and how is that affecting us? How did that affect us in 2023, and also how would it affect us going forward? And I'm gonna bring on Ron, and then I'm gonna bring on Phil so that they can also talk about this. Ron, how you doing? And Phil, how you doing today?
Hey, Harry. Hello, Phil. Hello, Coach.
What's going on,
He's
Ron?
Hey, listen, Harry, regarding the culture
Hmm.
and discipline. If I
Do
was a
you want to go
coach,
back to discipline, or are we going to take culture first?
well, I
Character.
mean, it runs hand in hand.
Okay, go ahead.
If my players are
Uh, Hey, Ron,
hello,
your audio is breaking up, Ron. Ron, you may have to hang up and come back in. Say that again. So, Ron, hang up and come back in. It might clear up. But go ahead, Phil. You take it. Let's Ron come back in.
All right, so I'll take the culture piece. I know when
Okay.
Dion first got there, everybody asked about culture. He was like, culture, culture. Everybody talks about that even when I was at Jackson. What does that even mean? And
Okay.
so I don't think he cares much about it. But I think really what we say when we say culture, what is the identity of that team? And I think for a coach that's a former player that was as talented as Dion, it's hard
Hmm.
for him to have guys to have that same mentality that he did when he was
yeah,
coming up. So now he has to find a way to motivate those kids and meet them where they are and try to find a way to create the culture that he wants. Um, Personally, I think some of the culture that is around the team is a lack of attention to detail. Um,
yeah,
I think they are undisciplined at times. Um, they look like good young on the field, off the field, things of that nature. They don't seem to get in trouble off the field, but on the field they seem to make um, some boneheaded decisions at times. So I don't know exactly how he needs to go about changing that because I think
Mhm.
each team is going to be different. So last year's team is not going to be this year's team, and so on and so forth. Um, but so I don't know, man. I can't really put my finger on it, but something's got to give with Dion, specifically to the penalties conversation that you were talking about earlier.
Yeah.
I want to add a little bit to this, and I want us to, we always have to. I don't want us to just have an empty conversation. I'm always going to be trying to bring it back around to how does it, who are some of the most, what are some of the teams in the Big 12? If anybody can answer this, in the Big 12 that can talk that have the most culture or character that may, what I'm saying, that are going to be visible, that we know that are visible, that's going to give us an issue when it comes to character and culture, because character and culture can win games. Believe you me.
Utah,
Y- Yeah,
I,
Utah and Kansas
Oklahoma
State and
State,
Oklahoma
yeah,
State.
and Oklahoma State. Those three teams.
but when you talk about that amongst other teams, I can speak. We could speak about our team, but when you talk about that among other teams, you don't really know how a lot of those things are going to come out until you actually see them in action and watch how the team functions in certain situations. So it'll be really hard for me to kind of like just say, just call out a team right now that
Well, some of these guys have already seen some of these teams play, and some of these guys already know the Big 12 and what we're going to be facing
yeah.
as far as culture, because some of these teams have been around. They've built their culture around certain. They've had their culture for a long time. I mean, I don't even have to be a college football fan. I just kind of know certain teams already. I remember in the 90s, Colorado used to be Smash Mouth. How do I remember that? I have no idea, but I remember that. Colorado
Mhm.
used to be Smash Mouth. Even when I was not a fan, I remember Colorado was a Smash Mouth team and they played very hard. Like when you played them, you were gonna get blood in your nose. For some reason, I just
Mhm.
remember that.
I used to hate them.
I would say this, Harry.
Yeah.
Like you got Utah head coach that been there at Utah for some years. Oklahoma State head coach been there for I want to say 10 plus years, if I'm not mistaken.
Uh-huh.
Um,
Yeah, Whittingham
I
has been at
feel
Utah for almost 20 years, by the way. I'm sorry, just to
yeah.
add to your point.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
So they have already created a certain culture, and and anybody who comes there or would like to play for Utah or Oklahoma State, they already done their research on them, know what type of character and everything uh, on the team, on the coaching staffs and all that stuff. Dion is trying to get young men to buy into his,
Yeah.
which he only been there for his second season, going on his second season.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I would say, and I know we touched a little bit about uh, the percentage of African Americans versus Caucasians or other different races on his squad. I know we brought up topics about the music, the genre of music that's played 90% or 99.9% of the time. Uh, I feel like that pushes a lot of. I feel like it does push some players away that can help this Colorado team possibly beat some of those Utahs and Oklahoma
Mhm.
State teams.
I
Hold on.
believe that.
What are
Yeah.
you saying? Is going to push some players away?
Yeah, I feel like the genre of music will push some players away. They may not verbally say it,
Oh,
but I mean, it things can show through people's actions and expressions.
what what what
Yeah.
what when you saying that, like, what do you mean, like the genre of music? You mean like hip hop music would push some players
Yeah,
away?
hip hop. Yeah, yes,
In what
yeah.
way? In what sense?
Well, that's not their genre of music. They don't listen at
Right.
rap music 99.9% of the time throughout the day. When you going into their
Yeah,
meetings, what they doing? They starting it off when when they eating, they listening to hip hop. When they on the field,
yeah,
they in practice, hip hop, games, hip hop.
yeah.
Come back to the locker room, hip hop. So
Hey,
go ahead. I'm gonna let
yeah,
somebody else comment on that.
no, I just want to add to that point though, because I mean, if you follow Colorado, then you're familiar with that. What is it, Matt McChesney, the guy that used
Yes.
to be on the
Yeah,
offensive
yeah,
line. So
yeah.
like
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
so he's big on culture. He
Fight
talks
song
about
guy.
how they
Yeah,
don't. Yeah, exactly. They talk about how they don't play the fight song. So is the team really going to be bought into Colorado, or are they buying in to Coach Prime? And I
Mm.
think that is a change in the way college football is being handled now, because it used to be before we're trying to get you to buy into the culture of the school
Mhm.
and the program. The program may not be winning right now, but the school has a rich history and culture, the
yeah.
different things that we do every Saturday, the things that we do before the game, the week leading up
Mhm.
to the game, little things like that. And I don't think Dion has bought into that in Boulder. Is that okay? Sure. Is it
I,
not okay? For some
Yeah,
people, it's probably not.
yeah. It's okay. Hey, listen. The reason that it is okay because what and Dion is establishing the culture. Culture, i.e., look at this one here. You go to New England and play. You're going to play it how? How you gonna how when you go to New England, you get drafted by New England. You're going to do it whose way? The Bill
Bill
Belichick
Belichick.
way. And he's not gonna bend. He ain't gonna break. It's just gonna be that way. It's just the way it is. I think and they've
mhm.
given they've given him the leeway to do whatever you need to do because we want to win. And I mean, I think it's great, man, because you walk in there. I mean, when the guys go in to eat. Sometimes, I mean, you got a DJ in there. I
Yeah,
mean,
but
I
like Tim
never.
was saying,
We are like that
everybody's not
because
gonna buy
that's
into
our
that though.
culture. See
What?
that we
What?
like
What?
that because
What?
that's our genre of music, and
What?
we like.
What?
Go ahead. I'm sorry.
What I'm saying is the culture. That's the type of culture he's developing. Now he accepts everybody
Is
else.
that culture really? Like, can I push back a little bit? Is that culture?
That is
Yeah,
a culture. That is
Or
culture.
you think that's what he's building as far as culture is concerned?
Well,
Or is that something that's just his personality and he's just doing that?
Well,
I don't know.
for the type of music, I'll say, yeah, for the type of music and what he's
it's
hearing, because he knows what the kids want to hear. He knows what the kids
yeah,
like.
he's relatable.
Yeah, and
any
and
anything
go ahead. I'm
that you
sorry.
do every day becomes anything that you do every day becomes who you are, right? And that becomes a part of your character. So
Yeah,
even if it was country music that was being played, I think the idea is that Dion wants to be able to meet the guys where they are and have them laid back, because they know when they get on the field, we bumping heads, right? We hitting smash mouth, right? So I think he
Mhm.
wants to create that laid back feeling in the sports facility. Now, like I said, it doesn't matter what music he plays, but I think that is the culture that he's trying to build with the team. Hey, let's come in. We're gonna be laid back. We're gonna have us a good time. We're gonna win. We're gonna look good. We're gonna feel good. We're gonna play good, and they're gonna pay good. So I think that music is a part of the feel good part, so they can go out and look good and play good.
hey,
Yes.
Harry, do you know how a lot of our hip hop artists, you know where they make the most of their money at? Off of the white culture, off of the white community, because there are more white kids that are buying more than the hip hop. Now we do it because we love it, because
Mhm.
it's part of us. But they picked up on it, and that's why remember when they started doing, I guess they found out that they had to cross over. So hip hop was one of those things for the younger people. Everybody got into it. So the guys started understanding. Listen, there's some white kids out there. and it's like it's okay. I'm okay with it. That's good because they can do some of the stuff I can't even do.
But let me throw this at y'all.
Well, can I
It
say
sounds.
this real? Oh, go ahead.
Yeah.
Let me throw this out there, and then y'all can take it. But it sounds like you guys are prescribing that Coach Prime is building a divide
No,
between the
no,
whites
No,
and the black
no,
kids.
no,
Like,
no divide.
like right here,
No.
what is vacationing or whatever this mean? That's why a lot of the old CU players are hitting the transfer portal or the portal. Prime knows what he's doing. Soon CU will be 100% Prime players. So is that, are we talking black and white, or we're not
I, I,
straddling no racial
I'm,
line, right? With this music thing?
no, I'm saying what I was talking about, how it converts to football, and um, on the field, and player wise, talent wise, you got like I think it was the gentleman from, I want to say, Penn State, that was a high prospect that jumped in the portal as a grad student. We had our eyes on him, and I said to myself, I don't think he's going to come to Colorado based off the culture what's being built there. So I feel like, yes, that music, and I love it. I'm not taking anything away from it because I would listen to it all day myself. But what I'm saying is, certain players and that are great players, are not going to come there because of that. That
So,
can contribute to the team.
so what do you think about
Yeah,
Cash?
All right, so y'all hold that thought. Let me bring Ron in. I think his audio is finally good. Ron, what do you think about certain players not coming over to Colorado because of Prime's culture that he's building with this hip hop music, according to Tim?
Well, we may not hear it, but last year on one of the, uh, I don't know if it was Well Off or one of the other uh, media guys there at CU was talking about that certain days they played certain music
Yeah.
that was voted on by the players. So they do incorporate uh, various music types within the team meetings and things like that. Certainly, the people that Coach Prime reach out are the individuals that he's familiar with and that he knows and has relationships with. So from the and if someone doesn't
Sound like a transformer, doc.
Yeah, I see
Yeah,
what you
Ron, you're sounding like Autobots. I think it's your connection, Ron. Your connection is like causing your audio to go in and out. But so Tim,
I, I,
you're going on this line that I feel like is a little cringe. I ain't gonna lie, right? When you
Okay.
say white kids don't listen to hip hop and it may cause them not to come here. I want you to clarify a little bit, like, because aren't we in the generation where the people that pay for hip hop, aren't they white?
Yes, I understand that part. I understand that part.
Uh-huh.
But I also understand, let me
So why
hide
why is it different
face.
for football players? If white kids are dominate hip hop culture as far as who goes to these concerts, because
Hmm.
obviously we know why, because
Yeah, it's
they're
a
paid
money
a little bit
thing.
better
Yeah.
and they can afford it a little bit more.
Right.
But so we see a sea of white kids at hip hop concerts. But now you're
Hmm.
saying when it comes to football, some of these kids are in the suburbs and they may like country music.
But but if you look at
Yeah.
the no, but if you look at the I kind of like country music a little bit. I mean,
Hold on,
I'll
hold
tell
on,
you
hold
a
on.
story, but
Willis, Willie, hold on one second. I'm addressing this to Tim
oh, okay.
Hmm.
because he's the one that's kind of like bringing this up. But I want to hear I want him to clarify because I don't want you to be hated out there.
No, I mean, you're not gonna get me to say, I'm speculating.
Okay.
Uh I'm not saying that, okay, yeah, this is why. But I'm saying as far as it, and a part of it could be Dion. I'm not gonna say it's all the music,
Okay.
but even even with let me see, even with the young man from IMG that signed with Coach Prime, he
Yeah.
was excited. His parents was excited. But if you
Jordan
look
Seaton.
over to your, no, not George Seaton, the other gentleman from
Oh, you
Talk
talking
about
about
Cash.
Cash? You
Talk about
talking about
Cash. Yeah. Cash. Yeah.
yeah. But if you look at that video clip and you look over there to the left, I don't know if that's one of his family members, a guy, he didn't look too happy. You know what I mean? So a part of it could be Prime, which we already know that part. But I also still feel like the genre of music, you know what I mean? We play it so much,
I,
and even though they are the ones that, well, they support it heavily nowadays versus in my era where it was rock and country and all that other stuff back in the early 90s. uh I
I
really don't want to
if I
touch
can,
on
Oh,
it too much.
let me
let me say this,
can
and
I
then
can I
you
jump
can
in
have it.
real
Whether
quick?
let me hold on, Phil. The one thing that I would say that I have realized where I think this may have a little bit of credence is that the choice of music may rub off some Christians differently. That's the
Mm,
only thing that I would say, because they be having some stuff that be cussing in there, and they be having some vulgar language in that. So some of the Christian athletes may, I know they don't really care, because I'm
mm-hmm,
not saying that this is an issue. I'm just saying, if there's any issue with music, which I don't see, I'm trying to help Tim out here. But if
mm-hmm.
there's anything
Thank
that
you.
I see, it may be with some Christian athletes. But the thing that I did notice about Christian athletes is that they know that their teammates are going to cuss. They know that their teammates are going to smoke weed. They know that their teammates are going to do certain things that they don't adhere to, but that doesn't usually stop them. But if there's anybody that can be affected, I don't see that hip hop can affect the white players. I know that Christians might kind of feel some kind of way, because there's so much cussing going on in the music, and especially when you say the B word to for girls and stuff like that. Some
Mm-hmm,
household may see that a little differently. What do you think,
mm-hmm,
Phil?
So I think when you have, I'm gonna say when you have Black America now calling Colorado like an honorary HBCU,
that's what
I
I was
think
gonna
that
say.
can have, I
Honorary
think that
HBC.
can
I,
have some,
I didn't call it
I
that.
think that can have some negative pushback. You know what I'm saying? Because one, people like myself that, and
Are you there?
then two,
Okay,
yeah,
go
I'm
ahead.
I'm here. And then when you have certain, if we talk about race, we'll just call a spade a spade. Some white parents may not be okay with the fact that the locker room looks the way it is. They may not be okay with some of the stars and some of the celebrities that are coming to the game. So while it may not be the number one detractor for recruits wanting to go to Colorado, I think it can be used in the negative recruitment against Colorado, because not everybody wants to be involved with all that, whether you black or white or whatever the case is. You may not
Phil
want to
said
have
it.
all that music going on. You may not
Phil
want
said
to.
it, not Tim.
You may not want to. I own it. You may not want to have the baby leading you out on the field. You may not want to do it all the glitz and glamour. You just want to go play football, get a good education, and go to the league if you can. If not, work at
But
Enterprise, rent a car, Verizon Wireless when you graduate.
So
but man, but we
let me
talk.
clarify before you jump in, Willie.
Okay.
Let me clarify the topic, because I think some people are getting confused. Because No Lie TV says, "LOL, this topic is crazy. It has nothing to do with the game." Let me tell you why it has a lot to do with the game.
It does.
Character and culture
Yeah.
has character and culture has a lot to do with the game in so many ways, because your locker room, the health of your locker room is very important to sports, especially the football. If your locker room is healthy, it helps with your mindset. It helps with who you are, who you identify to be. When you guys go out there, you're going to battle with your brothers in arms, you're shoulder to shoulder. All right. So your locker room, the health of your locker room is important. We're talking about character and we're talking about culture, because this is something that Coach Prime says with character, and with fast talk with character. And all of these things. So if you don't have these things, if you don't understand the culture that is at the school, if you don't buy into that culture, it affects the way that you play, because you're going into war with your you're going into war with these gentlemen. So that locker room and what you guys do in that locker room is, at the end of the day, it affects you overall. So you guys can talk to that. Go ahead. Who was next?
And
Go ahead.
it affects your recruiting. If you look at the the Alabamas of the world, the Auburns of the world, you can their character shows brightly. Prime's shows brightly too. But to have that 5-star player that's Caucasian that comes and like what Phil just laid out for us, it plays heavily on your locker room.
So guess what?
Look, and
Go ahead, Willie. Go ahead, Willie. You take it, and then I'll answer this other question too that he just put up. Go ahead.
also I want to say too, man. Look, Colorado is predominantly white college. Predominantly, let's not forget that. Somebody said it was. I never called it the offtake of a black HBU, but Prime brings that.
No,
That's okay.
I was
That's okay.
saying I was saying Black America, not you. I
Oh,
wasn't putting that on you. I'm saying some people in Black
oh,
America are saying that. I
oh
just
no,
want to make sure we're
that's
clear.
good. I just misunderstood it. But my point was that it's a little pretty much a white university, and them people over there, there go with them people, but they have embraced what Prime brings to their college. They're not caught up on. Oh yeah, they know they know he's black. That's a gimme right there. But they have embraced him and whatever he brings. I've seen some of the interviews where they've gone around interviewing the student body, and by far the student body have nothing but positive things to say. Nothing but positive things to say. We're talking about the culture of our, school, and the culture and how that helps our football team. How
They
that's going to blend
embrace
in football.
green.
Yeah, you see,
They
and
embrace
so
the dollar sign.
they embrace the dollar sign, but you got a lot of those guys you're talking about administration, but you got a lot of kids there that are students. They ain't embracing nothing but them books right now. And I want to have a good football team. If I'm going to go to a school, the football team has to at least be good. That's why they sell out. That's why they sell out. Before then, they weren't selling out nothing.
So
They
let
said,
me answer. Let me
man,
answer this.
that's
No,
huge.
no lie. TV is saying, "Huh? The locker room was not a problem." Well, first of all, that's not entirely true, because if you're saying that the locker room wasn't a problem, then that means you're agreeing that Sean Lewis and all the kids that were there were all happy and everybody was all great and all was great, and that had no effect on the team winning or losing. Because when your head coach is like, I don't know what's going on. I know what team that I assembled, but we're not playing like the way that we're supposed to be playing. I have no idea what's going on. It's not to say that Coach Prime lost his locker room. That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying that when you have a culture and not everybody has bought into your culture, that's what's transpiring in that locker room.
Yeah.
So what are we when somebody's talking about a locker room, people always think like, oh, automatically, well, that's not, what I'm saying, nothing wrong with the locker room, like Coach Prime didn't lose his locker room. That's not what we're talking about. It's not that Coach Prime lost his locker room, but there were issues in the locker room. There were issues in the family that they needed to address. And Coach Prime could not figure out why the kids weren't bonding to the message. So let me bring on Ron. Let me see. Hopefully his audio is working. Ron, what do you think about that? No Lie TV talking about there was no problems in the locker room. I see it differently. Okay, your audio is still doing the same thing, man. That's unfortunate. I think you're talking, but your audio is still doing the same thing.
Yeah, there were some things going on in the locker room. As soon as you get on, there were some things going on in the locker room. They just weren't publicized. If you having an argument, Harry, at home, you ain't gonna let us know about it.
That's
Are
right.
you? You ain't let me.
I
Look,
said
look, look.
that. I said that in week number 3.
Yeah.
I said that those grown-ups in that locker room were not getting along. And guess what? Right when I said that before, right after I said that, shortly after that, Sean Lewis was demoted. You see what I'm saying? So we're not talking about crazy stuff. We're talking about stuff that's happening, and it's happening inside the body. So
Yeah.
culture, we're not saying, oh, the music that they were playing caused those kids to have issues. That's not what we're saying. We're just discussing different issues, different topics that has to do with whatever was going on inside of Coach Prime's team, on Coach Prime's team. You can go ahead, Willis. I was just wanted to clarify that.
Oh, no, 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 no. That was good. That's good stuff. Hey, man, why don't you let the caller? Let's see. He was saying about. Oh, in, people are saying, well, we're not talking about football. All of this is football, dude. All
They
of
don't
this has
understand.
to
Some
do.
some people don't understand it.
All of this has to do with CU. The whole thing. You know, I don't know X's and O's, but I do know people. Okay, I do understand character. All of those things. You can have all the X's and O's all you want, da da da, I know it. But if you're not able to perform that, which ties into what we're talking about, character and discipline and not jumping offside. You can know how to do all that, but if you got all those things working against you, so it works as a whole. Harry, you're doing a great job with this, man. All of this stuff works as a whole, man.
Yeah,
So, and I
that's
like it, dude.
yo. I don't know why people don't get it. It's like, okay, you got young men who are in the room, and they have to go out there and they have to execute what those grown-ups are doing. Now the grown-ups start having a fight in behind the scenes, not necessarily like physically fighting, but there's disagreement that's going on. If there's disagreement, the grown-ups are having disagreement. They don't agree because you have what, 5 head coaches? I don't know if the people realize that Coach Prime had 5 head coaches, previous head coaches on that staff. You think all of those head coaches are going to agree with what direction they want everything to go in? No, no. And it's don't be afraid to ask those questions. Character matters. What are we building here is everybody buying into the system. The system has to do with the character of the team and it has to do with the culture of the team, which pretty much go hand in hand when you're talking about football in a football locker room. All of those things go hand in hand. So if it's not football, then what's affecting us winning? That's exactly
Yeah,
what I'm talking about.
yeah,
What are the elements besides talent and, oh, this other team has much more talent than we did? What exactly is affecting the Colorado Buffaloes from putting up W's like Florida State 13-0? What caused us not to go 13-0? That's what I want to know. These are the elements that we talk about on this show. Some people don't want to touch it because they think Coach Prime is beyond reproach. But I don't talk negatively about Coach Prime. I talk about the issues that are plaguing the team, because all of the issues doesn't always have to do with Coach Prime. It doesn't mean that Coach Prime is wrong. It doesn't mean that Coach Prime, what I'm saying, he did something bad. It's just the issues that are plaguing the team from putting up W's. That's what we're talking about. So I wanted to make sure that everybody understands that. Ron, is your audio good yet?
Yes, yes. Let me get in here before something else happens.
Go ahead. Go ahead.
Hey, Harry B, I think it's Tim cut me off, man. I don't know.
Tim is hating on you. Go ahead, man. Audio went bad again. T Nolan, how you doing today? Welcome to the show. Ron, you can come back in whenever you're ready.
All is well, man. How's everybody doing?
All
excellent, excellent, sir.
all is well over here.
Good. Just wanted to chime in a little bit. I'm a little late to the party today, but dealing with the discipline and even with the locker room. Understand something. I don't care how great a team is, you're dealing with 100 and however plus guys that have 100 and something different attitudes, different upbringings, and everything. But this goes back to what we were talking about a little bit of yesterday.
Okay.
There's a difference, and in dogs and in talented players and whatever, understand something. A lot of dogs, well, you got dogs, you got wolves, you got coyotes, whatever. Wolves run in packs, and
Mhm.
they understand who the alpha is. They understand, everybody understands they role, but they still a wolf. They still a dog. Understand something. Yes, this has been for years a predominantly a PWI, predominantly white institution, and now you have brought in a whole different demographic of people. Now, with that being said, it's a mentality. You all remember last year's Super Bowl when Coach Prime, everybody was up in the uproar about a statement that he made about the type of people that he looked for as far as
Mhm.
on the D line. You look for the single mamas, who had them kids who know they had to go get it from mama, this, that, and the other. He got a lot of pushback about that, but that was absolutely true. Come on, man. So
Yeah.
when we're dealing with, the demographics that we are now, you know, some dogs are alpha dogs and
Mhm.
some dogs are not an alpha dog, but they still dogs. But
Mhm.
everybody knows their lane. So, and that's on the head coach when he does bring discipline. Understand something. He set off when he got there, he did the same thing in Jackson. He said, everything we do here is going to be a competition. I want you to, I don't care if you're tying your shoe, it's a competition. I don't care if you're hopscotch, jump rope, whatever it is, it's going to be a competition with all the games, everything that he have.
That's
So
right.
why? Because it's a mindset. I want the alpha dogs to rise up to be alpha dogs. And
Mhm.
along that, guess what? You can be an alpha dog, but I need you to be smart, tough, fast, disciplined, and with character.
There you go.
You know, I had an uncle that used to raise dogs for the police department, Louisville, Kentucky, and he raised the dog a certain type of way. He said he didn't raise the dog. He said his dog will never fight another dog. He said because he raised them that you would think that that dog, would was a pushover, whatever. But when he trained dogs for the police department, he didn't train dogs to fight. He said, so you can come in this house, do whatever else. He said, so long as you don't touch anything. But if you touch something to pick it up, he said that dog is going to be on you. Why? Because that's how he trained him.
Mhm.
So when Coach Prime was looking for certain type of dogs, he understand what he's looking for. Now, sometimes we on the outside looking in, we
Mhm.
don't know exactly what it is because we don't see through the same lens that he is, but he understands exactly what he's looking for. Understand his record after his first year with Jackson State was identical, same record.
Mhm.
Then he went two undefeated regular seasons, and then he went on to make the jump. Listen, he's not really worried or concerned. He right where he want to be.
Right. Exactly. So
Yeah.
let's bring Ron back on and see if his audio is working now. Go ahead, Ron.
My audio is working. The one point, I don't know if someone else mentioned this, but Nick Saban and Kirby Smart and these other coaches, they deal with the same issues.
Mhm.
And with the as far as the culture of the team, when you're dealing with social or entertainment, they deal with the same issues. But once Coach Prime reaches that point where he has his guys there, he won't have to worry about it. He won't have to deal with that uh, outside of his locker room because it will be part of the culture. This is the way it is here. He will have guys that have been there for at least 2 or 3 years that can tell a newcomer, "Hey, this is the way it is. This is what the coach expects, and this is what we have to do." And point them in the right direction. If they feel uneasy, you know, you can go here, you can go there. But I don't think the issue of culture is nothing different than an Alabama or Georgia. Uh, when Nick Saban first got there, or when Kirby Smart first started out, it's nothing different,
You know, it would be a
except
good.
except that it's just prime. That's all. That's the only difference.
You know, it would be a good question to ask. Ask Nick Saban, how do you deal with it? How do you deal with that? Because if it's the same, like you said, and I believe that, how do you deal with it, Nick?
Well,
And you're a white guy, you know?
you get your guys in there.
Huh?
You slowly but surely get your guys in there. You send
Ah,
individuals to the pros, so they know when they get there that the system that you have that you're
uh-huh.
incorporating it works through the results of your seasons and the results of individuals moving on, whether it's in the NFL or further on in their life.
Right.
Um, you know, and part of that culture is not being selfish on and off the field. And those selfish things hurt us last year because we didn't have the team to overcome it.
Yeah.
So how does the culture, the character of the team, how does that affect us in 2024? Because we're not established yet. We're still trying to get the young men to buy into the system, and now we're getting rid of a good percentage of them, bringing in new guys that were a part of a new culture or part of a different culture, bringing them into our fold and say, "Hey, man, this is our culture. This is how we do things here." And now we're gonna have another window where some are gonna come for spring, and others are gonna come for a little bit later. So how does that affect us as far as W's and L's for the Big 12 culture is concerned? Tennis, you can take that, Willis.
So just throw it at me, huh? Um, ask that question again.
So the idea of what we're trying to tie all of this in, so it's not just like a frivolous conversation, right? We're not just out here just talking about culture. We're here talking about culture as it pertains to Coach Prime and what he's going to be able to accomplish in 2024 in the Big 12, because the Big 12 is wide open, and we want to make sure that all these little nitty gritty things that we're talking about. These are the things that's going to affect our W's and our L's. How does our culture and the young men that are coming in having to buy into this new culture that we're building, to this new culture because they haven't been here, how is all of this going to affect our play on the field in 2024?
Got it. Got it. It's got to be taught. Who's going to help with the teaching? Those that were here last year.
Okay.
You got new people coming in, okay, and brothers gonna talk. That's what Shador was doing with what they was in constant communication. So they're gonna talk, and they're gonna have to really, because a lot of them haven't had Prime as a coach yet. He's a dog, and see, he'll get right in your face, and look, hey, look, and hey, look, if you ain't gonna do it right, hey, just get him off the court, get him off. You just come on back over and sit down, you know. So they're gonna have to learn that. Yeah, he's Prime. He knows how to entertain you. He's got that big smile on his face, but he is a coach, and he's gonna coach you, and so and he's going and I've noticed each time that they've gone into those meetings, dude, he's got a certain thing that he does every time with it. He pretty much does it the same way. He's preparing them, and if they pay attention for it, like I said, he's going to teach them the whole while that they're in that room in the morning. He's teaching them, and so they're going to the new people. The older guys will pick up on it because a lot of them are used to it already. So once they learn that, and I think Harry, I think that's going to be an easy piece for them because they're older. Okay, a lot of them are starters. They've done this before, so they already know what's required of them. So it's not going to be as much as it was last year or this year. This year, not going to be as much this year. So I'm thinking they'll pick it. I think they'll pick it up pretty quickly. And so this team they're gonna move pretty quick.
All right, T. Nolan. So what do you think? You still with us, T?
I'm there. Ask that one more time, that last part.
Yeah. So the idea of the culture and how it's going to translate to our new players, and I think Willis from the tennis channel was saying that the kids that were already there They have to impart some of the culture into the new players. So we all got to gel to make sure that this thing works in 2024. So how does culture and how does character of this team affect our W's and L's in 2024? With a
Okay.
big
Now, again, the type of players that were brought in from last year, even to this year, we can just add the tag of a dog on the back of it, but smart, tough, fast, disciplined with character. Now,
Mhm.
with that being said, even the new guys that have been brought in, they still come from a similar like a culture. One thing, culture is not predicated on where you attend or what university you go to. Culture is a lot of times is who you are. It's a part of your character. It's a part of your upbringing. It's a part of your background, your lifestyle, where you come from, where you've been, and all of that. All of that is a part of the culture. Culture is not, a dress style. It's not how you dress and everything else, but culture is dealing with those things that Coach Prime was talking about. So the adjustment is going to be very small for the new guys coming in, because trust me, they're probably more like what he's looking for than what he already had on the team, because he still had some people that he necessarily didn't bring in, but we're getting more to 85, 90% or more of people that he was bringing in himself. The rest of the Louis luggage, he just had the handbag and the briefcase and the carry-on bag. So he brought Shadur, he brought, Travis Hunter, Shiloh. So here comes the rest of the luggage. It wasn't all in that first year. So culture, I think, is going to go hand in hand with the guys that he's bringing in and with some of the ones that's already there. I think the camaraderie will actually be a lot better than it was with the team last year, because there was no true downright character filled dogs
So let me
like
ask
he's
you
looking
before
for.
you continue. Let me ask you. Let me throw this in because you said a couple of things that kind of like eyebrow raising for me.
Mhm.
Do we have a culture? Does Colorado have an established culture? And if we do, because the way that you describe culture is as if culture was fleeting, as if culture can kind of like can be brought in. But I'm under the impression that culture is established somewhere where you come into it, not it's fleeting, and you can kind of bring it and affect it. What do you say? Is that what you're saying? Culture is kind of like everybody's
In
got it.
in a way, yes. And here's the thing, and this is what people have to get used to. Out of all 150 plus schools and universities, um, this is an outlier what Coach Prime is doing, and I say that because um, the way that it is being done is different than tradition. The way that he sees his plan as far as moving forward is something that most schools have frowned against. And so um, just like the culture that Colorado had before and most teams, it's already been set up. Okay, you got your traditional culture. We got a fight song. We want people to come in, learn this fight song this way, do this, do that. And that's not happening. And what some of the alumni is having to understand and realize is, okay, this ain't the same Colorado team that, when people come to a university, they're coming here because of the great culture. They're coming here because, so I think the term culture is relevant now because it's changing. The people to
Mm.
the kids mentality today, when you say culture, is not the same as those alumni who went to that school, which culture meant tradition, our traditional values, our traditional ways. This is the way Colorado's always done it. We're losing the culture. I even heard somebody saying, "Well, I don't think they're going to win anything in Colorado until you're able to call Coach Prime Coach Deion Sanders," which has nothing to do with it, but it's a mentality. And
Mm.
see, that's a lot of times where I think it gets lost in translation because of the mentality of what culture and tradition and a lot of people's lens. It's the same thing. And in these guys that are coming in, this new generation, culture and tradition is vast different than what people think it is. So to kind of answer your question, yeah, I'm kind of saying it that way. It's fleeting because there is a different definition of what culture is than what most people believe it to be. Because I believe when people say culture, a winning culture, they're saying a winning tradition. But
Mm,
Coach Prime is an outlier. He's not doing it the traditional way.
mm,
And you have the upper echelons, whether it's the president, the AD, that is, noticing like, okay, I know we've been about tradition slash culture. I know we've done this a long time, but it ain't brought us no W's in the win column. This guy is an outlier. This guy is flashy. He's loud. He's flamboyant. But goodness, if just for the culture of the city, not tradition, but in the tradition, in the non-traditional way, you know, they say if it don't make dollars, it got to make sense. Well, in this case, it's making both, and
Yeah.
I'm willing to relinquish. I'm saying I, as in the upper echelons, we're willing to relinquish and forego tradition
Hmm.
for the dollar and for this new culture. We don't know what it means, but we're willing to find out.
Every time. Yes,
so
sir.
when you're speaking and I got to come into agreement with what you're saying. I think at the end of the day, I think culture is defined by a group of people, or when they are able to articulate tradition, because tradition is something that kind of comes about when you do it repeatedly. So I think when we're talking about culture comes into play over time. I don't know that one person or one person can say this is culture. I think culture is established when you come in as a group of people with different ideas. You establish a culture by what you do repeatedly and how consistent you are with whatever it is that you're doing. So
Agreed.
the smash mouth thing that I talked about earlier, it became a culture at Colorado because that was something that they kept doing consistently and people kind of picked up on it. So then culture, like you're saying, it's going to be fleeting, or it's going to come into more focus when these group of people spend more time together and they're able to figure out what are the things that brings them together, that either makes them happy, makes them sad, or whatever, and they establish that together. Because even New York has a culture, being a melting pot of the world. Even New York has a culture, but that's
And
because
and
of the
And Harry B, you always adapt to your surroundings. I don't care
Yeah.
where you're
Yeah.
from.
Yeah.
Harry B, you in New York, you an implant. You come from Liberia.
yep,
You adapt and surround to your to the surroundings. If you didn't tell nobody you was from Liberia, you got a heavy accent, but they still would think it was, you got an East Coast accent or whatever. You
yeah,
adapt to your surroundings, and it's the same. So this is done not inadvertently, but this is done on purpose. Coach
mm,
Prime said, listen, this is a losing culture. Losing gets in your membranes, it gets in your
Yes.
thoughts, it gets in
Yes.
your
Yes.
actions, the ways. So he's purposely going out of his way. We got to get rid of this mentality. We got to get rid of this old culture, this old way of doing things. If that means changing this tradition, then we got to change the tradition.
Yeah. Hey,
I
hey, can I
agree with him
can,
on that because your culture, the culture that's established was a losing culture. So I mean, I feel like Dion displayed that for the world to see. But I think now, since he didn't display it, it's gonna take wins to
yeah.
bring more kids to that university that want to play for him.
Yeah, and I also noticed, I mean, you got hit it right on the head, man. Because I've talked to some people in Colorado and I said, oh, we're gonna win this. And yeah, we'll see. No, oh well, we'll see. Well, yeah, well, we'll see. That's just one game. That's the mentality of, and I'm not speaking bad about Colorado in no way, but I'm talking about the culture that I've experienced, and I'm in San Diego, but that I felt coming from the people because they have gotten you, and this is bad. They had got used to losing. Man, when you get used to losing, brother, it's gonna take a lot. And so Prime he's coming against that. You know, they you're meant you have built up a culture that says, well, we had and we can't win. We can't win. And well, we got this new coach coming in, and da 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 da. We'll see. Man, they've been beat down, and that's why this group here, this expanded group, I call this you guys the expanded group or the expanded faith base. We got more faith than a lot of the people in Colorado do. I'm serious, guys. We've got more faith. We believe that this man can do it. You know, with the help of others, he could do it. Then and we believe more than what some of the people in Colorado do. They're now just beginning to believe. They're now just beginning to, and then so what they call that's what I like about your show. When I first heard your show, like bandwagon buffs. I thought that was funny. What the heck is this? But yeah, man. But that's where that's what we're all up against. That's why what we do here is really really important. That's why I talk more here than I do on the other ones, other shows. We making a lot of sense here.
So
We're
culture,
talking about thing.
so culture is established, and it takes time to establish a culture. So culture is not something where Coach Prime can come in and say, "This is the culture." Culture is established. Like we have a winning culture or we have a losing culture. That was established over time. It takes time to establish culture, and not one person is going to say, "This is the culture." The culture is going to take the group, the collective, to decide. The things that we do normally are going to become our culture. Is going to become our traditions. You see what I'm saying? So the
True.
character piece comes into play with when either new people are added and they understand what culture has been built here. The character comes out of that where you understand, okay, now this is what we are about. So your character is formed inside of the culture. If you guys can correct me if you think I'm wrong, but your character kind of informs the character is influenced by your culture, by the things that you see what I'm saying. If you go away from a winning culture, if you are from a Georgia Bulldog or from an Alabama, the culture, the winning culture that you're coming from establishes, affects your character, the person that you're going to be walking into a different type of room. So when you walk into a different room, let's just say you come into a Colorado and they're not really used to winning yet, the way that you come into that room is going to be a little different from somebody who's coming from a losing program also, because their mentality is going to be different. What do you guys think about that concept or that perspective? Tim, you can take it, or T. Nolan.
Go ahead, Nolan. I'll let you go first, bro.
I think you're right. I think you're right. And it is done over time. The unfortunate part is when it comes to Coach Prime, his
He ain't
time
got
is
that much
treated
time.
differently.
Oh, okay.
And it's unfortunate, but it's just how it is. You know, he's treated differently across the board. So, but yeah, I do think you're right. So that's why I think he attacks the portal the way that he does, because he understands it more than anybody. Okay,
Okay.
we're going to win now. Now means now. We're going to win now. And he's not just saying it, that's what he believes. And it shows in how he approaches recruiting, how he approaches building the team and everything else. So, but yeah, I think you're right. It's viewed and looked at it that way. Well, you kind of have to look at it that way, even though that's not everybody's across the board understanding of what culture is. But I think you're right.
Because just to clarify, T. Nicole said culture does not influence a person's character, because you can be amongst a culture but choose to be the opposite. That's not 100% correct. Well, yeah, I mean, you can be at Colorado, you can be a winner. You see what I'm saying? You can think like a winner, so you don't necessarily have to take on all of the losing mentality that may come from Colorado losing every year. So that's understandable. But yes, your culture does influence you at times. When I stand up right now when I leave New York. When I go back to Maryland, I walk differently. When I was in Maryland, I used to be humpback a little bit because that was the culture in Maryland that is different. New York, when you come from New York, you feel like you're a killer. You see what I'm saying? Like the New York culture doesn't permit people to be slouches unless unless you just don't care. When you live in New York for so long, my character has changed because of New York culture. People around here, they move a little differently. They talk a little faster. They're more confident. They feel like they can conquer the world. When I was in Maryland, I didn't feel like I could conquer the world. But now that I'm in New York, when I go back to Maryland, I'm a different dude. I just walk differently. I'm not like I'm a cold killer right now. Like I'm telling you, like I'm not the same dude like that I was in Maryland. So yes, the culture influenced the New York City culture influenced me in that way. But yes, you could be in New York and you could walk slouch if you decide. I guess if that's what we're saying. So I guess
Yeah,
I understand what T Nicole is saying too. So on
yeah.
that in that sense, you can decide not to take on Coach Prime's mentality of trying to set up a winning, you know what I'm saying, set up winning or whatever it is that he's trying to do. Maybe you can decide you're not trying to be better. Maybe you just don't want to be better. You don't care. So no matter what that group is trying to establish as winners and everything, you can stay amongst a bunch of winners and not be a winner and be a loser. If that makes any sense. But for some way, you're gonna glean a little bit from that winning culture that you're a part of. There's no way that you hear winning, winning, winning all the time in your household, and you go outside of your household, and talk as a loser. That's just not how it always works.
I agree, man. But you know what? I think a lot of these guys that come now, speaking from an athlete's perspective, coming to Colorado, standing on the outside looking in, it was much watch TV. Everybody watched all of those games, even the losses. Even these guys that are transferring in, standing on the outside looking in, looking on television. It's like, man, if I played for Colorado, that wouldn't happen. This wouldn't happen. Or man, I'm getting off here, but if I played on that team, because you're getting all this exposure, first of all, that's what's going through a young man's thinking and everything else. But man, with my skill set, oh man, if I only had the opportunity that these guys have right now. And that's the thing that even Coach Prime said. He said, "Do you know how many people want to be in your shoes right now?" And it's showing. So, and that's the mindset, standing on the outside looking in. Man, if I ever get an opportunity like these guys got, they have no idea the opportunity that's afforded to them, and they're playing like they don't have any idea. So,
Tremendous, tremendous,
and
tremendous.
and and that is what attracts dogs or whatever else, dogs that don't mind fighting and competing, because I know what I bring to the table. If Coach Prime ever offered me, man, I'm gonna go there, and I mean, I'm gonna run over some folk. And that's the mentality of the mindset of some of these kids that understand who they are, understand their value, and know that they're a dog. Like, man, there's no way that I can be on that team and allow that to happen or see that to happen. They have no clue how good they have it, from the food, from the resources, from the elements, from everything else. I mean, top of the line all across the board, but yet a mediocre team.
Hey Harry, can I say something real quick?
Yes, sir.
Um, Going into 2024, um, I know we've been talking a lot about the players and stuff like that, character, culture. I'm actually really looking for Coach Prime to hold his coaching staff, that his coaching staff hold his players to the culture that they are trying to establish in Boulder.
Mm, very
I'm
good.
looking for him to hold all of them accountable, to really light that fire up under these players to play fast, to be disciplined with character. Uh, I'm holding the coaching staff more accountable than I am the players at this point, based off of what I've seen in 2023. But that's just what I was gonna say.
But
No, that's
clarify
good,
that. What do
Tim.
you mean?
That's good.
What do
That's
you mean
good,
you're
Tim.
holding them? What does that mean? You're holding them accountable. What is it that you saw? that you're holding them accountable for, or they did not see that you're holding them accountable for? Let's
I
put more meat
understood
on
what
that
you said.
bone.
I understood what you said. Can
Go
I
ahead.
explain what I thought he said? In other
Go ahead.
words, whatever Coach Prime is teaching these guys, the coaches are there. And for as the discipline and all of that stuff, the coaches are being held responsible to reinforce that. In practice, wherever it takes, they are the reinforcement agency, because sometimes players are kind of like slip into another mode. And um the conditioning coaches and your position coaches, they see that, and they should be the agent, I believe, and to reinforce what he's saying, to keep that thing going, to where, okay, yeah, well, he said that this morning. Okay, well, why are you telling me that again? Because I see, like, now you're not. It's not being performed right now. You see, I think I'm right. Is that what you were saying, Tim?
Yeah, a little bit of what I was saying. It's gonna show. It's gonna show on the field. It's
Yeah, there too. Yeah,
he's not gonna go into press conferences and say, you know, uh, well, that they haven't been studying film. I don't want to hear that this season.
yeah, yeah.
You know,
Okay, yeah,
because now we're talking about the discipline part of it, and I'm just looking for him. Let me see, Nick. I think it's Nick, the one that went over to Syracuse.
yeah. Nick, I like Nick. Yeah,
The you could tell his passion for the role that he played. Uh, yeah, he'll joke and laugh with the players or whatever. What we seen throughout social media, but you could tell the passion, the fire inside of him. The defensive coach, I could see the passion and fire inside of him as well. But the players have to match it. How do I get my players to match that? That's what I'm saying.
Hey Tim,
yeah,
Yes.
yeah.
have you seen? Do you know anything about Mr. Coach Sapp? He won them, man. Do you think any of them gonna be able to half step and do any of that mess they was doing last year? Let me tell you the type of dog he is. He the type of dog that bark in his yard, jump across the fence, bark in your yard, and jump across the fence, bark in the neighbor's yard too. Not just defense, offense, special teams, whatever else. I promise you, he not sure of the words. And them players are in for a rude awakening this year.
You talking about Sap?
Yes,
Yeah.
sir.
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yes,
I'm
sir.
Oh
familiar
yeah.
with Sap 100%. But I'm just saying, I already know what Sap brings to the table. The I think what was the gentleman that's coming from Oklahoma. I
Load
just
hold. Feel load hold.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't really know too much about him besides of what he did in the NFL. Um, I haven't seen him coach before, so
Well,
but I know
because he
what
was in the he hasn't been coaching. This is his first opportunity.
yeah. So I
Uh,
haven't seen it, but those key elements that Prime has uh stressed out there to the media, I'm looking for him to really hold his position coaches to the fire on those issues because it's gonna display on the field through his players.
All right, let
I
me bring
believe that.
DC Carson in, and let me see what he says about that. DC, welcome to the show. Thank you for calling in.
What's going on, Harry? How y'all doing?
Hey,
All is well.
hey, you see,
Good, good.
Hey, what's up? So I'm gonna jump into it. I am just my background quick, so it explain where I'm coming from. I'm a retired Army officer, over 25 years. I have worked with kids at that level. I taught ROTC at UAB, had a lot of athletes in my class, and I learned a lot. So the one thing I want to say is that what he's gonna have to have is those informal leaders, because you can't always be the person that's in charge. Like, let's say when you're at that level where he's at, which is a strategic level, which was a level that I was generally at.
hmm
I demanded something like when you're talking about other coaches, there was a demand upon my subordinate leaders, my lieutenants. But I also had to have those informal leaders within an organization. Whenever I had those, I was going to be successful because they helped maintain the culture, the Army values, all that kind of stuff. Because you can't always have eyes on them. So they were the people that will always do the check. Hey, man, you don't need to do this. You don't need to do that. And they kept everything. A lot of times they would say, hey, sir, get out of here. We got this. And I'd be like, all right, I'll walk out the door. And whatever was there was handled. So CU is going to have to handle that. The thing I'm going to say at that age is when you have all these dogs, you're going to have a hard time, but it's not impossible managing all the egos, managing all the attitudes. It really is becomes because not bragging, but I was a pilot. So most pilots flew Black Hawks. They're type A. So you are dealing with people who think they walk on water and can turn it into wine at the same time. And again, you bred that environment. So now how do you manage it? And that's my concern for them is building the culture and then having, because you got to have all those dogs and leaders. A quick thing I'm going to say on the side note, but you also got to, my concern also with CU is if you build a culture, are you going to be able to attract those people and those specialty things like the kickers and the punters? They don't always look like us, just keeping it real. So you got to be able to get them too. And great show. I'll sit and listen.
So I think where you're coming from is the idea of having influencers, because out of every group, they taught us this when I was in my leadership training school at UNC Greensboro, going through ministry training, is that you need in every group you need influencers. You're going to need to identify those individuals who can influence what you're teaching, because you're not going to be in every situation. You're not going to be with the students, with the other kids. You're not where all the kids are all the time. So you need, I think Coach Prime talked about this in one of those well-off videos at one of those meetings where he's like, yo, who's the leader? Let's identify. You be like this person. Does this person do this? Okay, fine. We recognize that. You do what he does. So those influencers are going to help to push your message. If you don't have influencers, or you don't have, I don't know if you can identify them yourself, or they usually identify themselves. They usually stand up and say something, or once you recognize this person is a clear leader, then you point them out and you say, hey man, I need you to, you know what I'm saying? You can kind of like my son, my 8-year-old son, he's like that. He's a clear leader, but you got to come to him and let him know, hey, I like what you do. Can you help me to do this? So if Coach Prime and his staff can identify those influencers, then it can help to push their message, because they're not always around. I think that's what I'm taking from what you're saying.
Well, you do have to have them, and sometimes they're just organic. They show up, and then sometimes you have to develop them.
Yeah.
But I mean, you're because what you really want to have is people that are enforcing the rules, and they're setting the standards, even when you're not looking. Like remember earlier in the show they talked about Florida. And if you watch the documentary and stuff and listen to what Tim Tebow said, they weren't having it. And the thing I liked about Prime is that he was talking about checking somebody one time and they weren't handling, and he had to slap him because it was like, he had that standard where it was like, you are not going to hang around him unless you are on that field, you're studying. And that's why he was able to bring greatness in there. But the thing is, and I think that's Colorado. Though I love Coach Prime, I'm a Bama fan, but got love for Colorado. But I don't have a buff hat, and I'm not gonna get a buff hat. But I still want to see them there. But the thing I look at is that, like, I see a guy in the comments talking about winning breeds culture. Well, nope, the culture has to come first before you get to the winning. If you do not have it, you're not going to get it. And so I think with him, he's got to. It's hard to get young people at that age, especially on all the temptations of a college campus, to stay focused and say you are here for, like I always used to tell my cadets, you're here to get this education and then commission and go fight and win the nation's wars. And I know Prime is setting that, but it's very difficult. So he's going to have like and with his coaches, you have like that positional power, which of course you have that, but then there's got to be that personal power. those people. Shador has to have those conversations. The personal power also helps with recruiting, all of that stuff. And if he can do that, there's no stopping him. But if he can't create that environment, it's going to be hard to sustain winning.
So T Nolan, you want to take it if you're still there, or
That's
Tim?
spot on, brother.
Yeah. No. Go ahead, Tim.
Oh no, I was just gonna say,
So Tim, your audio is not coming in, but the DC, if you can reiterate the part of the culture has to come before the winning. I want you to talk a little bit more about that, like unpack that a little bit more, because it might confuse some people in the comments.
So what some people will say, if you start winning, then everything will fall in place. But that is not the truth. If you build that culture of winning, that's how you get to winning. It's a building block. You have to build team cohesion. That's one of the things I would say the danger of a portal is that you're constantly having people coming in and out. I know you normally have that on a regular cycle, but I'll give an example. Military, they will not let us deploy if we have to replace our key leaders. Only in exceptional situations, let's say somebody's family or something like that, they don't let you deploy because you have so much you have to do to train up before you go that you cannot replace your company commanders, your sergeant majors, that stuff. You can't get rid of them. And then there's other specialties you got to have. How does that apply here? It's that they have got to have that team synergy, and that's not going to come until they are together, and that the team has to decide who they want to be. Coach can set the environment and you set the conditions for success as a leader, but the team, I'm talking to the third people playing on the practice squad, all of that, the ball boy, the managers, all of that, they have to set the whole organization that we are winners. And when you do that, it kind of just becomes like the snowball effect. But if you don't set that culture right off the bat, and that's why I saw a lot of frustrations, because when I was a commander, I made the same faces, because I was like, I'm giving y'all everything you need to do, and then we're getting out there and not executing exactly how we taught. And that's exactly how you were taught, exactly when we did weapons qualification, all that other stuff, physical fitness training, all those things that those kids have to balance at that level. So again, he has to set the culture. The thing you're going to see, he's got some good players coming in, but you're going to see if he said it, you'll see it. You'll see it like even with the conditioning and stuff. A lot of them penalties comes because they're not as conditioned as they could be, or they don't know what they're doing, and that comes down to coaching. And you do have some new coaches in there. Coach Lodho, you're bringing in a new line with a new coach, so he still has to learn how to be a leader, because the analyst, what I would say is like equivalent to a staff officer. They're good idea fairies. We can do this, we can do that, we can do that. But a coach is, I can look that person in the eye and know what they can and cannot do, and I got to train them up on what they can't do. But I also got to say, we got to go with this, because I can only be as good as their strengths. I mean, and I think we sometimes get focused with Coach Prime has the gold jacket. They don't. And you got to build that mentality into them.
Hey, I totally buy into that, man. Totally buy into that. Which, hey, and Harry, what I'm gonna do? My prediction was 9-3. I'm gonna go. I'm gonna put another one on there. I'm gonna say 10-2. Okay, and the reason being based on what DC just said.
Okay.
While he was talking, I was thinking about this. In order for a CU to have a winning season, and this is what DC was talking about. Have a winning season, a good season, we have to have total buy-in. Total buy-in. Anything short of that, I got to go back to 9-3.
Okay, so you're saying that based on what you think is going to happen, we're gonna have total buy-in. So you're thinking the total buy-in is going to equate to 10-2.
That's what I'm saying.
Okay, so you
quote me on that.
Quote you on that. Tim, you still there? Oh man.
But notice what I just said now. Notice what I just said. To get 100 or even sometimes 95% buy-in, man, that's a tough cookie because everybody's got to be on the same page. It goes back to what DC was saying, man. You know, everything have to click. It's got to click. You can't change up at the last minute.
So
Everything's
what do you
gotta
think
be
is gonna? What do you think are some of the symptoms that's causing us not to have total buy-in? Well, first of all, we did not have total buy-in this year, right? So it cost us a few games. What are the symptoms, or what are some of the things that is holding us back from having total buy-in, according to you?
a lot of the things we've been talking about these last couple of hours. What have we been talking about? We've been talking about discipline. We've been talking about God. We've talked about so much of stuff. We've been talking about culture. We've been talking about all the, and these are like things that people don't think about. These are all the little things that that you got to think about early and understand that they got to be in place.
And some people think it's not football.
And some people exactly.
Some people think this is not. We're not having a football talk. Like, talk about football. How much can you talk about X's and O's? The things, the factors that affect X's and O's are these exact topics that we're talking about. These are the things that affects X's and O's.
Harry, here's the truth.
Go ahead. I'm sorry.
Here's the thing. If you don't take care of that, you're not going to get to the X's and O's. What's going to happen is that you can have dogs, but you have to build a brotherhood. That's going to be the missing link. They've got to look each other and say, I will get on this field and die for you. That's going to make the difference. When you have it to a point of, like when Shador got knocked down, like it was some times where they'll scuffle. It's like, because I think just listen to the panels, like if Harry's out there playing and you saw when somebody pushed Shador down or laid on him, we all getting on him.
Oh, yeah.
We are all coming at you hard. And and that's what you got to have, where it's like, oh, you're going to put it like this. It should have been benches cleared when that dude hit Travis. Cleared.
Right.
And that right there.
They didn't have that culture. They didn't have that brotherhood.
Exactly.
Everybody didn't. Everybody hasn't bought into Coach Prime's system. What's the gentleman's name that's in the military?
DC.
Yes.
Oh, DC. Yeah,
yes.
What DC was talking about, and I feel like in 2023 season, a lot of the guys went out there. They were building, their house, but they were building it on quicksand. Prime laid out the foundation for them, but they didn't trust it, so they went on the other side of it and built on soil. So I feel like that. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, I agree. I listen. That's why I keep saying Coach Prime. The way that he played and the way that he lives his life. I don't know why it didn't translate here, and it did in Jackson State, because
I can tell you that
they bought into for some reason, they bought into it. I don't know if it was because it was a predominantly black, situation where most of the kids, their situation is not always perfect, and they could feel Coach Prime. I don't know if it was that. I can't call it, but something. There was a family. It felt like it was family at Jackson State. But
I can answer that.
Year one, they didn't do anything. It was year two.
That's why I said, Tim, Coach, and Harry B. The record was identical to his first year in Jackson State. It was in year 2 and 3 that there was a turnaround. He's right on track. But understand something. Okay, let's go back to the beginning of the year last year. Before the spring game, what percentage of that 1-11 team was still on that team? 50%? 50%?
They lost 52. They lost 52 guys.
Yeah, he got rid of a lot of them. Yeah.
No. During the spring game.
Oh, spring game. Okay.
The spring exodus was 52. They ended up with 72 guys left.
Okay. Now think about that. You're trying to get smart, tough, fast, disciplined with character dogs. What none of them 52 dogs. They just wasn't. Or else they would have stayed and fought. You're not gonna threaten my position. If I'm a dog, I'm gonna hold it down. I'm gonna hold down, fight for my position, and prove that I'm the better guy. Understand something. Even just from the spring game to the end of the year, he was still bringing folk in. There was no time to build that camaraderie with everybody. There was no time to have that flow like even in Jackson or like I think they will on this year because you were still getting rid of dead weight. He had dead weight that was even still on the team now because we had started patching uh, um, different areas. We were like putting a band-aid and now we had started, just kind of hurrying to put a team together. So we went from getting desired players to okay, now we got to fill out a roster. So we went from looking for dogs. Dogs was no longer available, and we got rid of 52 just that weekend. It was less than a week that them 52 players left, which they needed to. But again, it was already after, by the time he got hired, it was already after signing day and all this other. Then they went to changing the rules and everything else. It's like everything was against this team last year. So this year, I don't think we're going to have half of the issues that we started out with last year. And I think it will show up on the field. I think it will show up in coaching. Now, understand something. Coach Prime said something real key. I don't know what interview that he was on. It may have been on Reach the People, not Reach the People, but it may have been on the pregame show when he let out something. He said not everybody had bought in on the coaching staff.
Yeah, I
Now,
remember that. Yeah.
somebody said something earlier that was like the relatability. He even mentioned that. Not everybody on that coaching staff was able to relate to the players. That right there sent bells right off. He said, but that fall on me. We ain't making that mistake again. So let me give you a little back even on Phil Lodehold. He was not a coach, but Phil Lodehold played for Colorado. That's his backyard. He know all of them there. He was an analyst, but he was a hands-on analyst, not only with OU, but even with IMG. So he was hands-on. He was instrumental in even Jordan Seaton come. So as far as his pedigree or whatever else, and Coach Prime said he blew him away in the interview. So you got more than just a big body, more than somebody that just set up on top of the, while the game was playing up in the press box. This man got some real experience. This man he was not the coach, so to speak, but this was his alumni. He graduated from, he went to the pros from Oklahoma. So he had came back to his college, to be an analyst there at Insight. Think about it like this. Pat Shermer was an analyst before he took over the play calls. He set up, even when he was doing play calls, he did it from that press box. So understand something. I think that the people, the talent that was brought in, along with the coaches that is brought in, was a significant upgrade. And I don't see the significant upgrade that we brought in. It doesn't equate to 1 or 2 or 3 more wins. Harry B, what you got me down for as far as the record? I done said it every time I've been on. What you got me down for?
Did you say undefeated?
I said winning the conference. Yes, sir. I ain't standing off of that because I understand what was brought in. I don't care what happened, how close the game is. We may even beat ourselves.
Let's correct one thing you said, just kind of doing it in real time. Lodehold went to Oklahoma, not CU. So he didn't play for CU. He played for Oklahoma.
Yes, I was referring to Oklahoma. If I said CU, my bad. But yes, to CU, absolutely. He graduated from CU and he went back there. He was an analyst. I'm sorry, I keep saying CU. He graduated from OU. So he went back there and was an analyst for OU. So go ahead.
I would say that, brother, I would disagree with you on the 12-0, and we'll get back to the leadership. Here's why. Because we got the dogs, but the detail stuff, I think, is lacking. We've been talking about linebackers, but we hadn't talked about the kickers and the punters. Got to look at it. Last year, Colorado was like 99%, or 99th in field goals, or somewhere around in punting, and like 30-something in field goals. And then I think we were down to like 124 in punt return. Meanwhile, if you look at like Texas Tech and Utah, they had some of the best kicking and special team games in the nation. That's that kind of stuff. If you look back and look at, and I've been a Bama fan since Bear. I've sat out in the cold when Mike Shula was coaching and we were horrible. But I've seen that over the years how but I've seen Saban just absolutely dominate. Here's the point. We also know that they struggled because there was always a question about that kicker. And we're talking about not 39 yards and under. We're talking about the 40+ yard and the punting, because that gives you field position. And so when you have stuff like that we're not talking about, that's like we've got the dogs, but it's the details that we talked about, like the penalties, but it's the detailed stuff that's going to be the things that take you to that 12-0, because it's hard to get above 7 wins. But when you really start getting into the details of that stuff, where somebody can come out there and kick a 45 or 50 yarder or 45 yarder more likely, then that's going to affect your play calling. And a lot of that, I can take a chance on 3rd and 8 if I know this person can make it from this mark, whereas I'm going to be a little more conservative in my play calling if I know I'm only guaranteed to probably high percentage field goals of 35. The other 35 and under yards and under. But the thing I'm going back to as far as the leadership goes is that, see, I get what the brother's saying about that, and you got load hold. I definitely think he'll be efficient and stuff. But the thing comes where we're looking at this data, and there's something I saw on the program the other day where when we have those information gaps, we have a tendency to fill them with favorable data, favorable assumptions versus and when you start filling in your information gaps with favorable assumptions, the stuff that you want to hear, you're gonna get burned eventually. You're gonna get burned hard. So that's why I like Harry's show, because Harry is not a prime pom-pom shaker. And for some it's for some people
they're gonna unsubscribe. Please leave me alone.
Yeah, and unfortunately, it's so many channels. Like say something and they think you're dissing prime or you're dissing. It's like, no, I like talking college football, but they'll sit back and just go, and that's why they'll miss it, because it's like, oh, we dominate. We going all the way to the championship. And I kind of sit back and say, what about Georgia and Bama says you're going to line up and knock them off the ball repeatedly for 4 quarters? You might, but that would be more of a fluke season, not necessarily a planned season. I don't really think you see that till next year. But anyway, kind of going back to the leadership, is that I do think he has some pieces there, and I think he may have had some pieces not in place last year. The concern is going to be, is can you get everybody on one page going in the right direction? And can we say that right now? Harry, can you say what you see and what we're looking at from other stuff, that the leadership stuff, even in-house, is being taken care of?
No, I'm not confident yet. I'm not confident. I'm not 100% confident yet, because I know one thing that makes Coach Prime happy, and the person that he is, because I know Coach Prime more than I know the team. One thing that makes him happy is people, understanding people around him that understand who he is. I'm not satisfied that he has that yet, because he's plugging and play and putting people into play. And I'm concerned that he doesn't have his people yet. So once I see that Coach Prime has his people and he's comfortable with the people that he has, then I'll be like, dang, y'all about to be in trouble. Cause there's nothing like a happy Coach Prime and his people are gelling, because his mentality is so out of this world. That's where I'm at. I'm not happy yet. So I can't jump on the wagon of we about to be undefeated, because Coach Prime doesn't have his people yet. I know his mentality can win.
Win the conference, not undefeated.
Now, I'm gonna say this, Harry, with it, is that, like, I see even people talking about in the comments of Jackson State. So I went to Alabama State. Matter of fact, I went to Alabama State with the current coach who told Prime, "You ain't swag."
I know you did.
Yes, I did.
No,
yes, I
you
did.
didn't.
Yes, I did back in the day.
No, you didn't.
Yes, I did. I know Eddie. Absolutely. Anyway,
oh my God.
but again, I also saw Steve McNair play. I saw a lot of great people play. Steve McNair would just torch folks. All right, so you got to look at it is that HBCUs, one of the things that helps them gel faster is because it's a very not tight knit group. It's, I mean, when you get on campus, it is. I mean, y'all, those of you been there, you know, it's like family. You step around on homecoming on the yard, it's just almost like one big old family reunion. So
That's
they're
right.
able to gel. But the thing about HBCUs is that you've got a good play caller and you've got some supporting staff, you can win. You got to have a little more than that in Power Five. It's Power Five for a reason. I mean,
But
you
let,
know,
but let's dig into that. What you just like, what something is doing that. That's not just the people. Something, there's a spirit behind that. What is that spirit that's pushing that?
okay, so I'll tell you this. Also, I'm originally from Tuskegee, Alabama.
Okay.
And that whole community, most folks have heard of it. It is like because it's the culture that was set. It's
Okay.
the culture that's set in those environments, and they have gone on tradition. Think about it. Colorado had tradition at one point, then they lost it. The thing that he had to get, I'm gonna tell you right now, he had to get rid of those players because they had a mindset of losing. Didn't mean they were a good player. They would just get to third quarter, look at the scoreboard, and quit. Versus it being to a point like, let's lose Stanford. They left 29-0. We're getting our butt kicked. Most people would say, "Oh, well, we're losing." Versus, nah, one play at a time. We coming out here and we are wrecking shop. And unfortunately, Colorado was on the losing side of that. And even though most folks don't like Colorado State had that mindset of maybe I don't know about the culture of their program, which I'm gonna tell y'all. Fort Collins in January, I've been it's cold as all get out. But anyway, that having a mindset of we're not gonna let them beat you, and that's something I want to see more of because you saw it when them kids were coming off of the sideline with that head hanging down. Colorado, and you don't need to see that, which I respect. Prime will go over there and lift up player's head and say, "Hey, you're doing a good job." And I was like, "Now that person right there will get you to go through a wall. When you coming off the field and you have blown something, will get you to run through a wall." So I see him develop it. I'm just not sure when you start getting because some of your Porter players are going to be mercenary people. They're not there for Colorado or Prime. They're there to get their shine so they can go to the league.
You know what? And also, I'm gonna go back to what I said before. Um, if everybody's on the same page, and notice what I said when I said that. See, it means something. The Bible talks about it. Come on, Harry. You know this. Being on one accord. What the heck that means? I'm gonna just use it. I'm gonna just use that. If
Unison.
everybody's
We
on
think alike. We
one,
move alike.
or if everybody's on one accord, you're thinking alike, you're moving alike. You know, before you even do it, I don't know, already thought about it. Okay, and that's why I said 10-2 because I'm gonna give the other two losses to the ones that weren't thinking, the one that just totally blanked out. But if this team, and this will be my thing for Coach Prime this year, if he can get that team, even with the coaches we have right now, we've got some great coaches in there. If they can get together, because you remember what you talked about before earlier, how there was some discord among the coaches, and we all know that plays a part in a lot of it. But if everybody,
don't
and I
tell
know
that to the fan base,
and and I know it sounds like, oh well, that's like that's not delusional thinking. That's reality. That's real stuff. We know that if Harry and I is on the same page, we're thinking alike, we can knock down some walls. That's reality, you know. And I'm sorry, guys, I'm getting a little bit excited. I'll back up a little bit.
When mom and dad start to argue, some people think that doesn't affect the kids, and that's delusional thinking. When mom and dad starts to argue, the kids are they are inheriting those spirits that are going on. That's why some people say, "Hey, if you're going to argue, go away from the kids," because they're sponges. They're taking stuff in. You don't know what they're extrapolating from your argument. So what you need to do is not expose them to the fact that you guys are having a disagreement because they don't know how to process that information yet. So when there is disagreement in the locker room, you better understand that those young men, they're trying to figure out what side are we on? Whose side are we on? You know what I'm saying? Like, who's right, who's wrong? Like, these guys are not agreeing. Something is not going right. So, and then you have some players that were still disgruntled from whatever situation that they were in.
Yeah.
A lot of those players were coming off of having 2 or 3 coaches in just a couple of years, and they're like, I'm so tired of this. So it's not always like, oh my God, they hate Coach Prime. It's just the fact that they were just tired of having so many coaches. So some of them left because of the different coaches were coming in. But in that locker room, once the adults start to disagree, it's going to affect the young men, how they think, who do we agree with, whose side are we on, where do we go, and you see that on the field. And I'm telling you, if that's the locker room, did Coach Prime lose his locker room? No, but it affected the spirit of the locker room.
Yeah.
Harry, I'll say this is that one of the things you have to have in an organization is that when leaders walk out that door, you are a united front. It should never be to a point where, and I believe this probably happened where, one of the players was talking to their position coach or something, and it was like, well, don't worry about it. You know how Prime is, all that kind of stuff. That should never, ever happen. You should be speaking as one voice. It's something that we used to use what's called a commander's intent. This is what we're going to do, and this we're going to do. And even I never got into I don't like, even though I might not agree with my commander on some stuff, I still, as a commander, to my commanders that work for me, we're going to be on one front, because if we're not together, we're not going to lead. We're not going to be as efficient as we can be. And I believe that's part of what happened, that he comes in, he didn't get enough time, because we talk about the players, but he didn't get enough time to know his leaders. And if you don't know your leaders, you really are going to struggle, because you don't know what they can do and can't do, and especially if you can't trust them.
Mm-hmm. That's why I said Coach Prime doesn't have his guys. That's why I feel like I'm not 100% confident that they're going to be undefeated yet. I feel like Coach Prime has undefeated blood in his body. All right. So for the fan base, I want to make sure that when you come here and you're listening to either us, me, or whoever's on the panel, I want you to have solid information going away, not just this fluff stuff that happens out on the internet. I want you to please understand where I'm coming from with what I want to do with this show and what information I need you to walk away with, because this is how we protect the ticket. That's Coach Prime. All right. We protect Coach Prime with factual, good information that helps us to. My alarm is going off to let me know the show's done. But factual, good, solid information helps you better, whether you like it initially, because the first guy that came up in here said he pressing the dislike button because of what I'm saying. Like, people question me all the time, but I'm like, okay, so what is it that you want to hear? Like, Coach Prime is great, and then you move on, and then you feel better by yourself. What is it that you want to hear? Are you a football fan? Do you really follow this team? You want to hear anything truth? Because we did go 4-8, and a lot of people were getting excited that we were going to go undefeated, and that's why they got so jolted when we lost our first game. You see what I'm saying? So it's like, what do you want to hear? What is the fan base need to know? And I'm not gonna be. You can't shake me on the facts and the truth. And I don't talk any negative stuff about Coach Prime. I just want to make sure that people understand what football is and how Coach Prime is affecting this game. So, gentlemen, I want you to have your last words. The tennis channel, Willis or Willie, Big Willie style. What are your last thoughts, man?
I'll take that. I like what you're saying, brother. And if I can add anything to that, it's like, while you were talking, I was thinking about, I like this show because we talk about data. If you want to know what we're talking about, you got to go to the data. If you ain't got the information to back up what you say, what you're saying it for. Everybody's got an opinion. We have an opinion based on the data that we're receiving. That makes sense? I thought it would.
And Willie, look, people don't even know that this was a data show.
Yeah.
Character, culture, discipline, that's data.
All of that, yeah.
We had a data show with us calling it data, but they don't even know we snuck one in. But it's all good. T. Nolan, what's your last words, man?
Keep your head up, Harry B, man. We riding with you till the wheels fall off of the wagon. Bandwagon buffs all the way, man. We gonna do it again.
Salute, my guy. Thank you for joining us. DC, what's your last words?
Man, I'm just thankful to be able to come on a panel. You brothers are just dropping all kind of knowledge. I love listening to logical, more factual than assumptions based conversations. This is good. I'm a fan. Harry, you the man. And I appreciate being on the show.
I appreciate you. Hey guys, keep the email because next time you want to call in, all you gotta do is just hit me up and say like, "Yo, bring me on, bring me on. I want to spaz on something." So keep the emails, guys, and you always email me if you want to come onto the show. Thank you guys so much for joining the panel and making this show a wonderful show. Like Wild Dog said, it was a great show, and we had another person said this was a great show. This is great information. So thank you guys for making that a great show. I appreciate you. Have a wonderful day.
Later.
Peace out. So thank you everybody for watching. Again, another data show. Another show where we go deeper. Like I said, we're going to go deeper into the data. This is data. This is information that you can take and you can say, oh, okay, we talked about discipline. Now you can go and start thinking about penalties. How does the discipline, the character, the culture, how does all of that play and kind of join in with the field stuff? Because this stuff matters. All right. So if you don't understand it, just hold your comment until we get deeper into it so that we can explain it a little bit more. But I know some people just feel like they just need to say whatever they're going to say. But I do this show for specific reasons. We need to get to 12. How do we get to 12? The 12-team playoff. These are the elements that are going to affect us getting to the 12 because the other teams that I put on the screen, I'm going to show you right here before I end the show. The other teams that I put on the screen, you look here, these teams are going to have elements of everything that I talk about on this show, whether it's the defensive line, whether it's the offensive line, it's the edge rushers, you know what I'm saying? If it's the linebackers, your cornerbacks, all of these things are going to factor in with W's and L's. All right. Now, your Oklahoma States are going to have culture. They've already built culture. They've already talked about discipline. Some of these teams are going to have more disciplines because the team that makes the least amount of mistakes on the field during game day, that's the team that's going to more likely have a W. All right. Given other factors. So when I talk about these things, I'm not just here to just be talking. I'm talking about the elements that's going to get us to the victories. All right. The stuff that's going to get us to the finish line. Coach Prime has it in him. But keep in mind, Coach Prime is not playing the game anymore. Now it's young men that he's trying to instill these things into. And if they buy into the system, like Big Willie Style said from the tennis channel, if everybody buys into what Coach Prime is teaching, we believe that we can get to 12. So hopefully we will get to 12. Now I'm going to let you know we need to get a little closer. We talked about it a little bit. We touched it a little bit. The guys that don't look like us. Who are the guys that don't look like us? Are usually on our kicking team and special teams. So we're going to be talking about special teams hopefully tomorrow. All right? Special teams is coming up. We got to get into special teams. We were great at times. Sometimes we weren't that great. But get ready for us to talk about special teams hopefully tomorrow, depending on what happens tomorrow. Because today is Thursday. Tomorrow is free for all Friday. So anything that happens tomorrow is free for all. But I want to touch on special teams tomorrow. So if you're going to come on the panel, start thinking about our special team and special teams on the other teams. I will see you tomorrow. You know who I am. I'm Harry B. I ain't afraid of you. I ain't afraid of you. I'm like Bird and Matt. I ain't afraid of y'all. I'm not afraid of you. Anyways, so we're going to talk about it, okay? I'm Harry B. And what you've been watching is TLP, the Liberian Perspective. That's TLP Sports Club. Peace out, guys. See y'all tomorrow.